Sejong never expected his life to shatter in an instant. One moment he was just another quiet middle schooler, an easy target for bullies. The next, he was in critical condition, rushed to the hospital after a brutal group assault that left him barely clinging to life. The country didn't know his name. The media stayed silent. The powerful families of his attackers buried everything. While Sejong lay in a coma for 9 long months, his family was left to fight a hopeless battle. His father rejected hush money, refused to settle, and stood up against the system, until his desperation reached the point of no return. In a final act of protest, Sejong's father set himself on fire in the middle of the street. His mother screamed beside him, demanding justice in a world that refused to listen. The video went viral. 72 million views. A wave of outrage swept the nation. Only then did the authorities react. Arrests, dismissals, forced apologies, and financial remedies. But it was all too late. When Sejong finally woke up, the truth hit harder than any blow. He had slept through his parents' suffering, their deaths, and the storm they had unleashed for him. Guilt crushed him. Rage buried itself deep in his chest, and something in him broke. The world assumed he would never recover, but they were wrong. Now, 2 years later, Sejong hides away in a locked rooftop apartment in the building he bought from compensation, a so-called landlord who barely speaks and lives like a ghost. But behind his emotionless stare and quiet routine is a young man collecting information, tracking names, and connecting the dots between corporations, politicians, and the predators they protected. He watches the elites move like nothing ever happened. He sees the same surnames tied to CEOs, presidential candidates, media tycoons, and their spoiled children who walked away from justice. And the worst part, he can't do anything to make them really regret what they did to his life. Until one day, a crazy bright light targets the earth like a fiery blade straight for Earth. With the speed of light, it hits the roof of Sejong's building, making the dude jump out of bed in fear. Freaking out big time, he has no idea what's going on, but he knew something big had just crashed. He thinks maybe it is a thief. Just as he is about to check out, he feels an eerie sense of shadows clinging onto him, and his heart starts pounding like drums. His hand got all sweaty and twitchy, but he decided to check it out. Then he slams the door open and this blinding light hits him. When he can finally take a glimpse of what he is dealing with, his eyes pop out in surprise. There is this huge flaming sword stuck on his roof's terrace. On a bright day, something totally unexpected happens, which is definitely not on Sejong's to-do list for today. He looks pretty out of it after all. It's not every day a giant sword crashes into someone's rooftop. His mind races, flooded with thoughts about who could have had the power to pull this off and why. By the looks of it, Sejong's sweating bullets like crazy, trying to snap out of this feeling. He makes up his mind to check it out even further. This sword's appearance is quite familiar to something that's used in online games. Scratching his head, Sejong realizes that it's a two-handed sword, a Zweihander, massive enough to be his height when rooted in the ground. After a few seconds, Sejong thinks of giving and not letting such a thing screw up his head. He decides not to let the bizarre situation confuse him even further. Then, he considers turning off his curiosity and ignoring the whole thing. Regardless of how or why the sword ended up there, he goes back inside, acting like he doesn't care. Back inside the apartment, this deadbeat zombie walks inside, wondering if the legend of Excalibur picked his roof for his next place for rebirth. Just then, he collapses back on his bed, finally deciding not to give a damn what goes on any further. Soon enough, Sejong falls into a deep slumber, leaving the biggest sword to its fate. Out of nowhere, this massive sword starts jittering like it has a mind of its own. Unbeknownst to what's going on, this dead sleeper has no care in the world. Suddenly, all the ruckus outside ends up waking Sejong up. His eyes are practically out of it, and he is freaking out to be trapped inside his nightmare. What's strange is he spots a bunch of hi-fi warriors tapping their spears aggressively on the ground. Not to mention, Sejong is standing right in the middle of the soldiers' march, probably crapping his pants. On a side turn, his face loses all color when spotting the army of monsters heading his way. At the front line, there stands a hero with a red cape, wielding the Zweihander. The same sword that penetrated Sejong's rooftop is in the hands of this red cape guy. While he is trying to piece it all together, a surge of tremendous amount of energy knocks his socks off. That radiated out of the hero's body, which sent Sejong flying out of the way. He can't make sense of what's going on, and why he is here all of a sudden. That gush of wind almost peeled off Sejong's skin. Getting a hold of himself, Sejong catches his breath and lifts his head to spot a horrific scene. His mind is practically blown to spot a mountain pile of trash full of monstrous remains standing before him, with Zweihander rooted on top of it. Such an intense phenomenon jolts his body out of its dream state, and bolts upright in confusion. Taking a few minutes to process it all, he can't believe he had such a freaky nightmare. All of a sudden, there's a weird sound coming from outside that throws him off. He rises back up in confusion, wondering if it's not a dream but something real. Determined to check it out, Sejong braces himself to walk to his door and creaks it open only to have his jaw drop. sweating bullets like crazy, his eyes close to popping out of his socket. Again, that massive sword ignites in the sparks of flames, and he refuses to believe this is reality. Now Se-young's whole terrace is lit on fire. The man can't even handle such sparks of flames heating up his roof, as if it's his personal ocean of flames. Thus he, feeling clueless, dashes inside at full speed. Without further ado, Se-young wastes no more time and rushes straight to the bathroom. There, he fills up a bucket full of water in a hurry to tackle the flames outside. However, Curlyhead got a screw loose that his scrawny body wouldn't be able to lift such a heavy tub of water. His whole body shakes as he pushes himself to the limit, trying to lift the bucket in a stronger form, but he still can't do it. Water splashes everywhere, but he doesn't give up. Spilling some already, he takes another shot and lifts it. Going all out, he lifts the water tub and bolts outside even quicker. In the blink of an eye, he is out there, dumping a bucket of water on that massive sword. But nothing happens. Not even a smudge of fire is taken down. He is majorly tickled. He lets out this crazy yell and then sprints back inside, like right now. From that moment on, Se-young kept coming out to splash a bucket full of water to calm the flames down. Totally out of breath, and his body shivers consistently. The whole rooftop is all foggy now. The fire is completely gone. Se-young just sat there, probably wishing he had stayed in bed. Sweating like a broken faucet, he finally got the guts to stand, but then his body just screamed in pain. All of a sudden, Se-young saw the freaking pipes tugged in the corner. Probably cursing himself, he could have used those the whole time. He felt so mad as he was about to lose it. Afterward, the clock strikes 12, marking the arrival of midnight. Again, the sound of bangs starts again, and this time getting louder by the second, waking up the poor dude from his slumber. Stretching, he approaches his door and cautiously opens it, only to see the blazing sword once more. Over the past 4 days, Se-young has grown used to the presence of the flaming sword. Deciding to tackle the flames as usual, he carefully opens the pipe valve. He directs a controlled stream of water toward the fiery blade, aiming to extinguish the fire. And just like that, Se-young pours the cold water to extinguish the flames, but cannot locate the source of the drum-like sounds. He is certain that they resemble drums, but cannot determine their exact origin. Most importantly, he has zero idea of what's up with this fire that started without any prior notice. Se-young finds himself unable to look away from the blazing sword, its presence captivating his attention. Later, the 12 strikes again, confirming the midnight period has begun. Even in his sleep, Se-young hears the banging, like a song stuck on repeat. Now, the sound's getting intense, banging in his head like it's a free service of crap. Right on time, as always. Once again, his sleep is totally ruined. Jolting up, he is completely fed up and about to lose his mind. This thing won't let him rest, and he's mad as hell, acting like a starving predator ready to tear apart his prey like a piranha. The dude's mind is probably short-circuiting from all that nightly routine of water splash. And then, it was midnight once again. His room is flooded with bags of trash, and the clock ticks in silence, as Se-young stares at this sword. He is pretty clueless as to what he needs to do with this. With a completely blank face, he waits for midnight to strike, just to witness the grand show of what goes on at this hour. Sitting near the sword, he watches as the clock strikes 12. Right on time, the sword starts to tremble in a strange way. Se-young is fully aware that the real action is about to begin, as he is completely locked in. Just as the flames are about to burst from the cracked edge of the ground where the sword is trapped. A second later, flames burst up again, but he quickly pours water on them. Finally time to get even again. Back inside, Se-young crazily types on his keyboard like a madman, in search of something big. After digging deep, he finally finds it, and he is taken aback by this surprise. Without any further delay, he steps outside to face the massive sword, grabbing the giant red ribbon tied above it. The banging echoes through the air, but Se-young doesn't flinch. Armed with a cross and holy water, he steps outside to face the demonic sword. He is ready to exorcise the spirit haunting this thing. Muttering a few words, he sprays the water. The sword's trembling stops. For a moment, he thinks he has done it, but a blast of flames erupts from the ground, nearly making Se-young jump out of his skin. In a panic frenzy, he shouts, calling on the power of God to cleanse the possessed metal, demanding that Satan get the hell out of there. Hours go by, and now it's broad daylight. The poor guy, Se-young, still stands in one piece, but that too he barely made it through the night. The name of his lord plays on his lips, but only a faint sound of his voice makes its way out. Spraying holy water, he compels this demonic sword. This night-long ritual took every pinch of strength out of this guy. Trying to make sense of the nonsense he was doing, he grabbed his head, completely overwhelmed. Panting heavily, Se-young notices that, for some reason, the fire doesn't seem to act up as much in broad daylight. It just goes out on its own during the day. Although the flames were raging just moments ago, looking up at the sky with the scorching heat of the sun, Se-young has completely exhausted his body beyond belief. With the fire not looking to quit his usual stance at midnight, he believes it will start acting up tonight all over again, and the whole cycle will repeat itself. However, this dude has had enough of this crap and has made up his mind to do something about it. Thus, without wasting any more delay, he declares that today, he will settle this once and for all. Getting out of his toolbox, he picks up a sturdy hammer and grips it tightly with the intention of relieving himself of this misery. Having a good look at it, this dude can't help but let out a creepy smirk. Taking a deep breath, he sprints in full-blown speed towards the sword with a serious case of bad vibes. Se-young unleashed a furious strike, hammering the blade with the full force of his being. Instead of a savage blow, the hammer's head snaps off the handle and straight up goes flying, smashing a hole in the wall behind Se-young. This guy looks straight up confused, holding the handle. He is just staring at it like an ape. Drenching in sweat, Se-young grits his teeth in fury, and he seems to be at his limits. With that, the lad sprints like a speedster to get inside, probably cooking some new idea to batter this wicked thing. A minute later, Se-young came out swinging, like he had some heavy-duty backup. This serious burst out reveals a big bat, and Se-young now means business. His eyes determined that this might have a good shot. Bat in hand, he squeezes it hard and rushes at the word, going full-on crazy. So he takes his chance to strike the sword for good and lands a solid hit. Surprisingly, the impact bounces right back at Se-young with the same force. That bounce back slams straight into his face, knocking him off balance as the bat flies out of his grip. Letting out a blood-curdling scream, Se-young screams in pain as it hurts like hell. But the lad isn't planning to back down at all. Bolting upright, he glares at the cursed metal, taking this as a direct challenge. He believes that if this thing wants a fight, it's going to get it. Thus, he is ready to go all out. Without skipping a beat, Se-young grips the sword's handle tightly. The curly head wouldn't quit with the lines. Then a bang stopped him. A spark of flames burst out of the cracks again, catching him off guard totally. Having zero to no clue, this guy won't understand how it got fired up again with a mere touch of his, especially not even near midnight yet. That sort of throws him off. And then, his eyes nearly jumped out of his head. Out of nowhere, a ball of fire lit up his face, scaring the crap out of him. This fireball full of firelight levitates in the air just when Se-young grips the sword tight. Within a few seconds, the fireball comes crashing down like a blazing beam straight at Se-young. It's pretty much intended to fry him on the spot, whether he likes it or not. Every nook and cranny of his body gets hit by the scorching, hot, hellish light, burning through his senses like wildfire. His skin prickles and his vision blurs. For a moment, it feels like he's being consumed whole, and possibly puking fire. All of a sudden, he is being blasted by the countless memories of this sword that cut the flesh of many. The faces of every enemy it faced, every blow it struck, replayed in his head, building into a mental storm. He felt like his skull would crack. He was relieved every moment, from the joy of silly jokes to the pain of what was lost. Right then, the flames suddenly turn to smoke, and Se-young finally manages to yank the sword out. Then, he collapses to the ground, completely wiped out. Se-young faces his nasty ordeal, which earns him a huge sword after having a beam blast through every darn cell of his body. It's early in the morning, and the neighbors are up, gossiping about the crazy fuss at the rooftop that wouldn't just end already. One of them raises a question to others, if they had any idea of what's the deal with rooftop apartments. The last few nights have been quite bothersome with all the noisy screams. Not to mention the neighbors have had it up here and can't tolerate enough of the third floor's buzz. A woman nags about the non-stop banging sounds, day and night enough to drive anyone insane. But one of the ladies' husbands seems oddly hooked on it, especially since no one has ever seen the landlord in person. During the span of 2 years, the fifth-floor people never had the chance of a face-off with their landlord. Not only that, they certainly have no clue what sort of entity resides above them, a man or a woman, or their right age. This fifth-floor lady has already called the manager this morning for a quick update on this madness. Turns out, this freestyling gossip queen let him know every little detail of the rooftop hitting quite the bangers already. She couldn't help asking if this all needed the police's attention. However, the manager puts her in her place and shuts her down. She reports his polite demeanor, suggesting others keep it to themselves. Screams or no screams, that's a foolproof test to prove the landlord's lively status. His underlings are desperate to keep a lid on whatever's going up on the roof. Meanwhile, Se-young, up on the rooftop, snaps back to reality with an ear-piercing scream. After being forced to devour the massive fireball, the lad passed out cold, still gripping the possibly cursed sword. Regaining his consciousness, the dude is totally out of it, and still can't make sense of anything. He wonders if that whole thing was actually a dream. One heck of a lifelike dream that actually felt like a solid memory. Gripping his aching chest, Se-young got hit with a tornado of emotions in one go. Despair, joy, sadness, awe, anger, guilt, and hatred all felt raw at that moment enough to pierce his heart. It was as if he had lived countless lifetimes in a single breath. When it's over, Se-young jolts back to reality. but his grip on the sword keeps him frozen for a moment. He doesn't even remember pulling it out in such a rush. Not just that, the traces of the sword being stuck in the roof have completely vanished, sending a chill down his spine. Not to mention, he suspects the sword's length is at least a meter long since it got yanked out. Taking a good look at it, he half expects the massive blade to have already torn through the floors. Barely having the strength to lift this gigantic metal blade, Se-young isn't the quitter, so he manages to somehow lift it up for a few seconds, until he loses his balance. But this time the sword ended up falling right on top of him, making his soul almost jump out of his skin. Moments later, he straight up pushes the sword and puts it aside like a good lad. That totally took a big load of strength. A single touch, Se-young recalls the battling sword of the Pilgrim of Thunder and Storm, which is the name of this sword. Although he knows it's something derivative, and not a true name at all, he still hasn't cracked the code, considering he hasn't done much lately. With no clue about what's happening to him, he knows one thing for certain: his courage and determination never get shaken. No matter the adversity, his will to break free burns stronger than ever before. Without further ado, Se-young gets a hold of it, and finally channels all the memories regarding the countless battles. Just then, Se-young's fingers certainly gain control of the sword. After taking a harsh swing, he again lifts it off the ground like a madman. Just as he tries to take another swing, the sheer weight of the sword sends a jolt of electricity through his entire body. Something inside of him surely snaps. Slamming to the ground head first, he lets out a scream of pure agony before passing out cold. Later, when he finally wakes up, he finds the crazy woman he has to call back with no other choice left. At some lunch meetups, Missy is laughing and having a great time until her phone buzzes. The moment she sees the caller, her smile fades. She knows that she has to take this one for sure. Excusing herself and the coffee, Se-young's cry for help got every cell on high alert. Rising with a quick apology, Missy wastes no more time in ditching her date with Uikwon. She bursts out of there in a hurry and rushes to get here, while completely missing Uikwon calling Bora. Upon arrival, Bora believes that it better be worth ditching her date on the spot like that. Without further ado, Bora demands to know what's up with this deadbeat zombie. With a sharp eye and her close inspection, Bora notices the bandaged hand as if it had been broken or something. Without skipping a beat, this lady pressures him into spilling it out, while Se-young feels a bit shy. She proceeds to ask how the heck he managed to sprain both his wrists. That one throws him off, and now he has got to cook up an excuse. Pressing further, she demands to know now. Left with no other option, he excuses himself about having done exercise that sprained his wrist. The mere thought of a workout from this guy cracks her up. Bursting into laughter, she could not believe that the same guy who hadn't strolled outside for the past 2 years actually did a workout. It's almost too much to process. Smirking, she finds the whole thing hilarious. She can hardly believe this guy, of all people, actually worked out hard enough to land himself in this mess. Her guess is either working out on the elliptical for 2 hours straight, or lifting weights about 100 times. Because there is no way such an impact can be made. Her smug refuses to fade as she stares into his eyes, creepily. A sudden buzz of a message catches her off guard. Turns out, Se-young's phone is ringing, and this boy surely has no stamina left to pick up his phone. Bora does the honors, reading out the caller's name, Happy Realtors. Se-young hates everything about this, as she tends to pick up his phone. This ticks him off. The dude smells trouble from here on out, while Bora confirms it's Tak Se-young's phone. Upon asking, she tells the caller that she is a nurse from Haewon University Hospital. She goes by the name Kim Bora, in charge of Se-young's regular checkups. This whole investigation of Happy Realtor kind of seems to piss her off. However, something about screams makes her turn quickly, with a look that says she heard something seriously messed up. Now, the caller desires to know if everything is alright with Se-young. At first, Se-young flinches but shakes his head, hoping Bora doesn't rat him out. She assures the caller that he is in perfect shape, physically and mentally. Regarding the calls, Bora pointed out the kid is not great at answering. There, right then, she launches into a rant about her own problems, especially how Se-young made it a rule to at least send a text if it was business-related. Afterward, Bora straight up tells this kiddo to try acting like he is in good shape, or else the realtors would suspect something's off. Se-young was having trouble lifting himself into a sitting position, but barely manages to battle his pain through it, and gets up to take his attendance at the realtor's call. After his roll call, Bora takes it up from here, clearing things out with the realtor. After she is done, she wonders what's wrong with this guy. She casually brought up that the neighbors are upset by his screaming, which has been keeping them up for the last couple of nights. But Se-young is in no mood to share his troubles. However, he is certain this chick wouldn't back off. Without further ado, he admits to feeling a lot more frustrated, like his heart is out to explode like confetti. Bora itches to discipline this weirdo but gives up. She proceeds to feed him after putting on her nurse gear. To further his odds, Se-young claims to be in good shape but intends to take some rest now. Before Bora heads out, she goes full-blown crazy over leaving instructions on how to take care of his sprain, followed by the warm compresses. Afterward, Bora schedules their meetups on Tuesday and Thursday for the next 2 weeks. Before Se-young objects, she marches out of there. He gritted his teeth, looking absolutely pissed. Again, the banging sounds push him to check out the battling sword under his bed, so he yanks it out. Despite the constant pain, this otherworldly voice declares that learning requires failure. Even though he was 100% alone, the voice wouldn't stop, forcing him to learn through pain, no matter his age. This was a hardcore crash course to becoming strong. The voice said to grab the sword, run until you fall, swing until you break, and that's about it. After dropping a fast-tracking course to get stronger, this unfamiliar voice advises him to grip the sword right, start running, and then swing it to the brink of exhaustion. The dude isn't familiar with the terminology. While the sword rests on the bed, Se-young slides down to the ground, completely drained of energy. Hitting his limit, he starts questioning why he's even pushing himself this hard. He wonders what's the point of getting stronger if it just leaves him like this. Soon Se-young taps on his keyboard like there is no tomorrow. Driven by a thirst for knowledge, he did extensive research on the Zweihander, wanting to learn everything about it. Among all, he chooses a Korean guy's 4-month practice video for two-handed sword training. Time to go all in. Se-young's focus shoots through the roof, thanks to the unusual circumstances that lead to this. His eyes locked onto the blade, barely blinking. His focus is unwavering. He is learning to slash his enemies with minimal movement. Bearing witness to this, Se-young can't help but wonder if it's possible by his own hands. At that moment, he squeezes the heck out of his leg. That's no cakewalk when his whole body feels like a brick, unwilling to move. But his mind wouldn't unhear the creepy voice's commands. His mind cooked a million thoughts to this ordeal, trying to make sense of it all. Soon after, Bora drops by to take a look at Se-young's injuries, which are surprisingly healed way before a set time of 3 weeks. Cutting to chase, Bora suspects Se-young of using illicit drugs, but Se-young's not up for a chit-chat. Without wasting any more time, she advised him to take a rest and cut shady things off his to-do list, or else she will get in trouble. Waving her off, his casual gesture of getting out infuriates Bora, who slams the door shut. Getting all the room for himself, he confirms this wrist injury will take exactly 3 months according to the nurse. A harsh whisper echoes through the room that a ready sword left untouched is a mark of a fool. Se-young figures out the voices are leaking out of his memories. Outside, he tightened his grip on the sword and gave it a full swing with all his might. Sadly, the weights of this massive two-handed Zweihander aren't easy to just lift, especially for a kiddo like Se-young. At first, he decides to work hard on building his stamina and strength. Recalling the instructions, there is a need to run outside to master swordsmanship at the basic level. Come to think of it, the thought of stepping outside sort of flinches him. He hadn't left his upper floors or interacted with anyone nearby for the past 2 years. Even now, he feels chickened out, saving the stamina thing for later. A second later, a memory flashes when a guy his age could wield this very sword. He would run for nearly an hour at just 12 years old, eat, and then go right back to running again. Shaking from the burden, Se-young straps the giant sword to his back, deciding to do push-ups. Considering his unusual no-workout lifestyle for a long time, and the sheer weight of the sword, he figures he can probably take on 10 with the sword tied to his back. But then, dripping sweat like crazy on his first trial, the guy feels like he is staring death in the face. Settling just for 1 push-up, he lowers himself only for the sword's weight to crush his face straight into the ground. The whole thing is driving him crazy. Feeling defeated, he gives up for now. Then, he grabs a couple of cup noodles to recover his strength. But once the sun sets and fewer people are around, Se-young heads out. With his sword still strapped to his back, he is ready to start running again. With a long sigh, Tak Se-young, strapping the battling sword, Zweihander, to his back, is ready to march outside. Determined to pull it off, he wishes to make a good run. Reaching the stairwell, this dude chickens out badly, deciding to only run up and down the stairs instead to avoid interaction with anyone downstairs. Without skipping a beat, Se-young's every step is a soundless tap to the ground. Not to mention his whole body is practically vibrating like every nook and cranny of himself begging him to bounce back to his bed. Even if chills run down his spine, he continues to chant that he will run till his exhaustion gets a hit. He is not one to back down, not now at least. His continual shivering intensifies and his mind turns into a chaotic mess after just 1 floor down. His body already feels like it's about to give up. The dude is losing his mind now. All of a sudden, his sword's tip strikes the stairwell. That's when Se-young loses balance and trips over the stairs pretty nasty. He rumbles down the stairs, crashing like a human cannonball. Then, he meets the ground with brutal force after a few backflips that slam his face to the ground. Again, the mysterious voice from his mind reminds him that he still has a long way to run. Better pick up the sword. Close to weeping like a wimp, he barely gets a hold of himself. but his determination is still not shaken enough. Even now, clenching his teeth hard, Se-young refuses to back down. No matter the cost, he is determined to run. Drenching in sweat, each step draws a new horror on his face. He is trying to keep it casual by coming down the stairs, but deep inside, he is scared to his wits. A few steps down, he would get a hold of the fence, trying to process it all. Panting heavily, Se-young never imagined that it could get this brutal on him. But here he is, struggling harder than ever. Getting down, he is marching back up at the same pace. Going back up to the roof, he finally catches his breath after pushing through 4 laps. Out of nowhere, eerie, shadowy images of his past flash before his eyes. His body stiffens as the memories roll, drowning him in fear. Feeling like he is about to lose it, the fierce flames inside him still burn. That's enough to snap him out of this cowardly zone, and he is eager to do one more. Strapping the sword back on, he steps out, determined to prove himself. Later on, the third-floor hag almost jumps out of her skin to see a pile of trash bags flooding the ground. Moving on, Se-young's phone rings a bell, while he is busy taking a nap with holding his sword. A few moments later, it's rise and shine for Se-young. His stomach's loud growl works better than any alarm. Heading to the kitchen, he cooks up a delicious yet proper meal. But no matter how much he eats, he is always hungry these days. Squeezing the gripper, he dunks the dirty utensils to the sink, eats up his fill, and dashes out to the roof. There, he decides to do pushes and reaches 100 without getting his head crushed this time. Afterward, he kicks back on the lawn, arms stretched out like he just won a battle. Then, a clue drops, and the mysterious voice casually reveals that short breaks level up the strength even faster. He needs to find his peace in all this madness. Later on, Se-young dashes down in full-blown speed trying to up his game of running. He is totally going nuts over the stairwell lapses. Not to mention, his footsteps have grown much more aggressive. Clearing 8 lapses, this guy thinks of what's next. Without further ado, he grips Zweihander tightly in his grasp. The voice drops a piece of advice that 100 swings are basically an easy start. But the thing is to go slow enough to make anyone yawn. New rules have been laid out, which include no tip wavering. A mysterious voice echoes, demanding to know Se-young's objective. Without hesitation, he declares desiring vengeance. The house is completely burned from the inside out, but the mystery voice isn't done yet. It keeps pressing, demanding to know why Se-young would go this far. Staring at his PC screen, Se-young bears witness to the horrifying footage. The entire town is nothing but ashes and flames, bodies scattered across the ground. The sheer pain in their eyes is unbearable, and Se-young watches a helpless load of people being burned alive. Their screams are trapped in the past. His jaw tightens and he bites his lips, trying to keep them together. But the weight of it all crushes him. Then, on screen, a man collapses, embracing his beloved in his arms, mourning in despair. That's it. Se-young's walls break, feeling totally relatable. Tears spill down his face as the mystery voice asks again, what is his objective? Drowning in the storm of emotions, he finally knows the answer, which is revenge. A sudden revelation snaps his eyes open. Everything is much clearer now, even as tears keep streaming down his face. Sitting up, he wipes them away, shaking off the sadness. His heart still aches, but his mind is sharper than ever, and dead set on what he plans on doing next. He finally knows his path, and this time there is no turning back. In the meantime, Bora is up to no good, sneaking around the rooftop, probably pulling off an old-fashioned detective move. Checking her phone, she scrolls through her messages. One in particular reminds her that she is supposed to swing by Se-young's place in an hour. Giggling mischievously, she smirks, thinking Se-young has no clue she is already at his doorstep. Just as she is imagining the look on his face, Se-young slams the door open. And just like that, this skank is caught red-handed. Standing there, Se-young looks half dead, staring at her blankly, asking her to act her age and quit snooping around like a weirdo. The girl is totally busted, stomping her foot in frustration as she pouts. He just lets out a long sigh when walking back inside. Writing 175/100 for blood pressure, Bora starts her examination and tends to check out how his arms are doing now. He responds to it, revealing it's a little sore. But Bora has had enough of this and is at her limits. She addresses the fact that Se-young must face the harsh reality of how they have been lying to others. However, times are entirely different now. After a momentary silence, Bora proceeds with her questions, asking how his hands, feet, and back are doing. But Se-young's answer remains the same, a little sore. The same old deadpan response hits a nerve, and Bora instantly growls. On the verge of roasting this deadbeat zombie, she retracts back, keeping her cool. Without further ado, she declares that Se-young had just run out of luck. The lad is pretty much clueless, but Bora's smugness stays. Coming clean, she blurts out that the doctor has already signed the note, announcing a full recovery of Se-young. That totally catches him off guard. Thus, he questions if Bora's roaming days, goofing around here, are over. There's that, Bora decides that Seyoung's hardcore introvert phase is officially over. If he keeps this up, he might actually go back to school and enter 8th grade as a 17-year-old stuck with a bunch of kids. In no time, Seyoung gets right up in Bora's face, practically fuming. His rage dials up to the max that he isn't going to school. He growls, making it crystal clear. Meanwhile, Bora is totally thrown off, and she stares at him, stammering like a malfunctioning doll. Just then, her jaw nearly hits the floor, and wondering why this guy is so tall. She jumps out of her seat, eyes practically scanning him. She can't believe Seyoung is this tiny, scrawny kid who wasn't even 160 cm before and is now way past 168 cm her height. Yet here he is, standing way taller than her. Bora shakily orders him to stand there for a moment and does a thorough checkup, only to find Seyoung's been working out. Though Bora gets the kids to grow fast, she can't fight the urge to grab Seyoung's pecs, calling him a legit beefcake. Later, during the training, Seyoung hears the mystery voice declaring that a set mind to achieve strength must chase unparalleled power. Knowing only fools separates the strong from the weak, fighting over rank and status, when there exists only one, no two skies or suns. It stands as a singularity alone in its power. Moreover, there is the vow of indomitability, the blessing of the sword, and the essence of conviction. To achieve these, he must run to exhaustion, breaking his limits and swinging the battling sword 10,000 times without rest. Only then will true power be his. The word burns into Seyoung's mind. Compared to the guy in his memories, he is just scratching the surface. Thus he needs to train much harder. A year later, a major announcement shook the nation. Jang Sung-chul, elected as the 21st president, refuses to make empty promises or excuses and hopes to prove that love for the nation outweighs self-interest. His lackeys cheered, believing that their boss, Sung-chul, made his dream real. As congratulations pour in, Chairman Lee of Shinjin Corporation calls, praising Sung-chul's victory and promising to gather the family. He means that the kids have suffered enough in the States, while Seyoung watches Sung-chul's speech about hope and feels nothing but disgusted. As much as Sung-chul hates to admit it, he knows the innocent kids have already been through too much. And now Sung-chul, a big-shot guy, is out here, saying he hasn't seen his little Soo-jung in forever. Scheduling to catch up later, Jang Sung-chul is thrilled to know Soo-jung will be making his return soon. Given the extent of her past suffering, he guarantees to see his little girl, who must be grown by now. His secretary takes his suffering into account as well, but Sung-chul is glad to witness this ordeal and finally see the end. Like sunshine after a storm, Sung-chul admits that it's all thanks to the sacrifice of children that their parents have achieved greatness, and nothing short. Then, he gives off the creepiest smiles ever, like a truly disturbing sight to behold. At the Incheon International Airport, there's a whole crazy, hot-headed squad of huge bodyguards, and it's pretty clear that they aren't just for show. Right behind them is a pack of evil about to make a serious comeback from the States. This includes the green-haired carefree menace, Yoojin, the chill but deadly white-haired dude, Junhyuk, and muscle tank Suho. Meanwhile, Heewoon, Dahoon, and Chang-soo were already waiting for this crazy bunch, arms crossed, expecting this reunion for a while. Junhyuk yells, "Who's behind this cringe-worthy little party?" Dahoon tells Junhyuk to chill a bit, knowing that it's been a while since they have last seen each other. In the meantime, Suho and Chang-soo trade their casual pleasantries, glad to catch up, while the rest begin mingling as well. That's when Heewoon turns to Yoojin, asking about Soohyun and Soo-jung. With a smirk, Yoojin says Soo-jung took a flight to Japan for a few days, needing to clear her head. As for Soohyun, well, they'll have to figure that one out themselves, as she winks at them. Though Junhik can't help but wonder if Soo-jung had 2 years to cool off, what's left now? He felt bad for Soo-yum, who had to be dragged along. That said, their chit-chat continues, and they catch up with each other while Junhyuk asks Chang-soo if he has looked it up. Chang-soo believes that searching for an address is a piece of cake. Thus, Junhyuk pats Chang-soo's shoulder for doing a good job. However, Chang-soo, smelling something fishy, demands to know if Junhyuk is up to something. Junhyuk's whole face twists. His symmetry shifted into something eerily off with a sinister grin creeping up. With a dark chuckle, he is out to service the guy who's responsible for all the trouble they have encountered so far. Meanwhile, his aunt Hyunjin calls Seyoung to ask him once more if he still doesn't want to go to school. Seyoung is dead set on not going at all. She reminds this kiddo that he can't choose this way of living forever while dropping an offer for Seyoung to come live with her instead. She thinks the States might be a good change for him, where anyone has no clue. Seyoung cuts her off, confessing his fear of the outside world. Taken aback, Hyunjin feels bad and apologizes straight away for pushing him too much. Seyoung reassures her, saying he knows that she is worried sick for him. That said, he ended the call, hoping he would take good care of himself. Meanwhile, Seyoung's game plan is locked and loaded, and he is ready to rip that whole bunch apart with no such thing as mercy. Outside, a man in black has finally arrived at the location. After his clear-cut observation, no soul has trespassed the area of the rooftop or exited. However, he says they already sent in a food delivery guy, a mailman, and even a meter reader, but still no word on whether the target's inside. Thus, he gets his orders straight. Meanwhile, Chang-soo hears about some shut-in from him. Frustrated, Junhyuk yells about how hard it is to get one damn pic of that freak. But Chang-soo argues that Sejong never even steps outside. No school, no fresh air. Junhyuk's losing it. He is convinced the guy is up to some really weird stuff. Chang-soo suggests breaking in, dragging him out, beating the crap out of him, then delivering him straight to them. That plan cracks Junhyuk up, but he tells Chang-soo to chill until they polish it up to Soo-hyun's standards. Then, for a little inside scoop, Junhyuk drops a bomb that Soo-hyun got a direct invite from the Yakuza in Japan. That throws Chang-soo off. Turns out Soo-jung's smooth-talking friend zoning got them connected with some top-dog parents in the Yakuza. Now Soo-hyun's decided it's time to gift that loser Sejong a little something special. Throwing a party together for the crazy comeback, Yoojin winks at the camera while the rest catch on. At home, Sejong's eyes scan the picture, and his blood practically boils to see this bunch of scumbags. The more he stares, the harder it is to hold back the rage bubbling inside him. Scrolling down, Yoojin puts down a caption in the memory of Soo-jung and Soo-hyun, who haven't returned yet. They wish to get the whole gang together under one roof. Down the post, Jang Crystal replies that they will join them real soon. Having seen it all, Sejong bets that they aren't the only ones waiting for so long. Back home, people are hyped to see Soo-hyun and Soo-jung back after years in the States. At Narita International Airport, they're welcomed warmly, with one lady straight up shocked that they were told this would take another year or two at least. But there they are, standing smug, proving her wrong. She is outright impressed, guessing Soo-hyun's dad's presidential powers are already working their mojo. Either way, she acknowledges the hell these two went through in this period. Moving on, they are being smoothly escorted to their limo. The other pair plans to discuss so much as they go. As it turns out, Lee Soo-hyun is none other than the son of Lee Jo-yang, chairman of Shinjin Corporation, while Jang Soo-jung is the daughter of Jang Sung-chul, the freshly elected 21st president. Inside the limo, this bunch sits comfortably, discussing the matters that actually matter. Breaking the silence, the muscle tank knows what's up, and is also aware of Soo-hyun's style of wasting no more time. He finds it totally relatable, and thinks it's better they get to the point. That straight-up attitude takes them by surprise. Hence, the sassy lady over here takes the chance to brief them on the current affairs. Without further ado, she smirks, revealing that Ryohei has everything all set, since his preparation took a start when he heard of their arrival to Japan. Soo-hyun is totally grateful to these guys, but Muscle Tank believes it's their honor as he never imagined coming across the likes of Soo-jung. It's not every day. That one bumps into the daughter of the Korean president while studying in the States. Soo-jung wastes no more delays to thank Ryohei for pulling this off, showing respect to Ryohei's efforts that played so far. She made absolutely sure he understood he would never be forgotten. Playing a wicked smirk, he considers this all a reason for their friendship. Additionally, he tends to spice it up, revealing that his father, head of the Samdo Syndicate, invested a unique level of effort in supporting their affairs. Now, let that sink in. Further on, Soo-jung checks if all the preparations are in order, confirming if they could leave together first thing tomorrow. The concept of leaving together threw off the other two. Ryohei casually suggests they just kick back, enjoy their time here, and head back whenever they feel like it. That totally catches them off guard. Things just got real, really fast. Soo-jung and Soo-hyun's faces of horror kind of crack the Yakuza pair. Soo-jung presses Ryohei for answers, demanding to know what's really going on. While Soo-hyun's eyes twitch, his nerves are clearly on edge. Apparently, Ryohei breaks the silence, casually mentioning that their men had a business trip in Busan. Having an early morning chit-chat, Ryohei assigns Soo-jung to give them a call just as they arrive in Korea to arrange a meeting. He casually explains that their people knew they would be handling the final steps himself, so they better put the finishing touches by themselves. Soo-hyun stays chilled, unfazed as ever, while Soo-jung bursts out laughing, realizing that Ryohei's little prank just had them nearly jumping out of their seats. All of a sudden, Soo-hyun receives a little text that ticks him off as his rage fuels. Soo-jung catches wind of this, asking what's with him. Soo-hyun hands it over, letting her see for herself. The moment Soo-jung lays eyes on the info, she lets out a loud scream, and it completely throws her off. As it turns out, Junhyuk texted this duo, confessing to having finally lost all patience to keep himself in check. Thus, he decides to mess with their new toy, as it has gotten boring to wait for their arrival. At somewhat midnight, two retarded weirdos are hurrying over to beat up a measly little middle school dropout, mocking the lives of the residents, who have their lights out at 5 to 12 already. Parking at the front, Macho Freak decides to deal with this mess solo, as two men ganging up on one middle schooler sounds embarrassing. He hopped out of the car, told Baldy to keep his eyes on a lookout, and went to whoop the kid's bum. Macho Freak is absolutely raging that he's stuck doing all the crap work, and he is ready to beat up the kid for a bit and drag him out later. Later, he picks up the lock and kicks open the door to the roof. With a lot of thoughts piling up, he wonders, why no window? But then he recalls seeing a ceiling window in pictures. However, the apartment is strangely open and totally dark. Meanwhile, Baldy wonders what's taking him so long. Checking his watch, Baldy has grown annoyed by the time that Freak is taking to make the punching bag out of that kid. The lad doesn't know the value of time or what. Leaving him no option, he storms in with a bad case of attitude and reaches the roof in time. What surprises him is the door has already sprung open, and Baldy thinks that Freak is quite flashy for a kidnapper. Like, who would announce to the world that they are kidnapping the kid? Without skipping a beat, Baldy intends to take a look inside, figuring out how much longer it's going to take. Right then, a big hand leaps out with no prior consent and grabs Baldy's face out of the blue. The sheer brutality of the blow sent a wave of terror through him. The savage blow scared him stiff, and he couldn't move. Suddenly, Sejong yanks the guy inside like his personal toy that needs some pounding. A second later, a series of deafening bangs erupts from the roof. That series of bangs must have woken up the whole damn block. After a while, the next day, the traffic police checked out this unattended car park at the front of Sejong's building. Confirming it's unregistered, they plan to tow the thing. However, the traffic cop is fully aware that the scumbags who drove it have barely ever returned. And when they do, they'll just deny ever owning it in the first place. Not to mention, he bets they desperately need luck on their side to somehow contact the driver. No doubt, even the traffic cops figure this whole building demands ultimate attention for some reason. Taken aback, the junior cop was left speechless, clearly stunned by the situation. Turns out the traffic squad has been assigned to keep a lookout as well, but occasionally. Moments later, Chang-soo receives an urgent text that somebody needs to talk pretty fast about the guy working for Jun-hyuk. After a while, Chang-soo catches up with Jun-hyuk at his place. Apparently, they are legit growing concerned as to what went wrong with his henchman, as it's 11 o'clock already. Chang-soo scrolls through but hasn't received any updates either. Flipping his lead, Jun-hyuk yells at Chang-soo for not doing the call himself. That just ticks off Chang-soo under this immense pressure. Right about now, the phone rings intensely, and Chang-soo's uncle picks it up. So thrilled to hear out his nephew, he wonders if his minions did a good job. That's Choi Jong-chan, the head of Mira Credit Bureau. As it comes to pass, Chang-soo confesses not hearing back from those days, which throws him off. Turning over, Jong-chan's mind begins questioning what those lowlifes are up to. Blowing his top, Chang-soo demands to know if his uncle sent out a bunch of amateurs for this job. These words get on Jong-chan's nerves, knowing the jerk has no sense of respect. Even so, he swears to dig deep into it. But Chang-soo isn't fond of the first-hand humiliation, and taunts Uncle Jong-chan that Uncle Chang-hyun from Aegis would have sent a better pair. That does the trick of boiling his head. Jong-chan only treats Chang-soo well, because he's the boss's kid. But there's not much at the receiving end here. Gritting his teeth, the old man is fired up furious, wanting to know the location of those scums. Somewhere in Sejong's apartment, Jong-chan's minions are beaten to a pulp, their phones buzzing nonstop. Their faces are badly pounded to the ground like they were former punching bags for the freak living here. Just then, Sejong erupts from the shadows like the Dark Dweller. At Incheon International Airport, Soo-jung and Soo-hyun finally arrived back in Korea. As they are about to rush out of here, when Nam Ho-jung, a member of the Secret Service, is at Soo-jung's service. Out of nowhere, Soo-hyun practically jumps in shock to see Mr. Yang in flesh and bones. Mr. Yang casually mentions his father's orders to escort him back to him. Meanwhile, Ho-jung yanks away Soo-jung rather quickly. Meanwhile, Jong-chan calls the underlings' leader, yelling at this snob to wreck the task he assigned him yesterday. He wants those two idiots dragged here to face their punishment. No excuses. Yeom Dong-suk, the leader of Team Z at Mira Credit Bureau, did a thorough check, and nobody has heard from them. Tracking their whereabouts, Dong-suk reaches the Sejong's building. He notices a parking violation on their unregistered car, baffled by their stupidity. To top it off, the car got towed this morning, making him wonder where the hell they would go. Like a crazy cannonball, Jong-chan storms into the office of Yeom Dong-suk, demanding an explanation for the mishandled operation. A chainsmoker weirdo notices a fierce cannonball bursting in, but he takes a second to process it's their boss blowing a tantrum. His eyes widen in fear, his jaw practically hits the floor. Trying to keep his cool, he spills the beans that their leader called everyone to gather up at Sejong Apartments. That news hits him like a ton of bricks. After a while, Dong-suk calls back his boss to notify what's happening. Jong-chan blows up like a cannon, his blood practically lava, demanding to know what the hell Dong-suk is up to. Dong-suk comes clean by having a big problem. Upon asking, he mentions their two men have gone missing with no clues or hints left behind. This sudden news sort of cools down Jong-chan, taking his attention elsewhere. He wonders what's the fuss over here. Dong-suk explains that there is something oddly wrong about Sejong's apartment, and admits he has already gathered his crew to dig deeper. After a brief pause, Jong-chan gives the green light for the operation. With that, they are all set to move in. Taking a step closer, Dong-suk takes attendance of his every henchman, checking if they are in position. With a quiet agreement, they head in. Within a second, they all gathered up at the front of Sejong Apartments, hurrying inside to finally deal with the anomaly. The entire stairwell is packed with men in black, while their leader, dressed in white, casually smokes like he's the coolest guy in the room. After the right puff of smoke, he signals his lackey to get him. Without further ado, the lackey bursts open the door and rushes at full speed. Watching all his henchmen clear out the stairwell and head in the roof apartment to take back what's theirs, Dong-suk probably believes that this many would take care of what's inside. Thus, he enjoys the puff of smoke in the clearing. When things have gotten noisy, he gradually walks up there to see it for himself. There are these consistent bangs followed by every step he takes towards the roof apartment. Suddenly, an eerie silence takes over the rooftop, like the calm before a storm. Despite everything, Dong-suk concludes that this was all just an overreaction until his lackey crashes into the corner all so suddenly. That one blow got his skull crushed pretty badly. Bearing witness to such a horrific slam, Dong-suk's eyes practically bulge out of his socket. Trembling in fear, the dude tries swallowing his fear down, but that doesn't work for him. He can't make sense of what the heck is going on. Out of nowhere, some dude stomps on the ground, facing Dong-suk, who is pretty much shivering out of fear. As it turns out, even the door has gotten short for Sejong's size. The monster's vibe totally threw Dong-suk off, making him lose his footing right away. His blood pressure goes off the roof as he screams, demanding to know who the hell Sejong is. But just the sight of him fries Dong-suk's brain, making him let out a desperate cry for help. However, it won't help here. Sejong tightens his fist and slams a punch straight into his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Afterward, the cops receive a citizen complaint about loud screams and a group of thugs entering an apartment. The third-floor hag swears she saw them and hasn't slept since. While the police prepare to check it out, they wonder why no one called earlier when the screaming was happening. Still, they appreciate the report. Better late than never. Climbing up, the rooftop door is wide open, with a broken lock, making things feel a whole lot sketchier. Getting straight to business, they knock, announcing their presence. But the second they step inside, their brains short-circuit, because right there on the roof is a mountain of bodies, and in front of them stands a muscular monster. Wasting no time, they pin the guns down instantly, while shaking like a leaf. There is a huge ruckus outside Sejong's apartment building, with cops swarming the place. A squad of paramedics dashes upstairs with empty stretchers, and marches down with loaded stretchers full of broken bodies. Jong-chan, Chang-soo's uncle, in fear of being a total flop in his nephew's eyes, has got his squad butchered brutally. Sliding down the window, he is desperately looking for answers. And that's when his eyes fall on the tragedy of many. Seeing all those bodies crushed to a pulp, Jong-chan's eyes practically pop out of his head. Sweating bullets, the man hasn't seen such a bloodbath like ever. On the other hand, cops hold Sejong down for questioning, asking for his residence registration number. But this muscle man doesn't know what's that. The cop tells him straight up that repeating himself won't help. Taking a deep breath, Sejong gathers his nerve and spills the truth in one shot. He blurts out that he is turning 18 this year. That's why he doesn't have a residence registration number. As soon as the words leave his mouth, the cop's face twists in pure confusion. He listens as Sejong finally says his full name, Tak Sejong. Back in 7th grade, he dropped out of Neunkwang Middle School. But the reason he dropped out isn't something he can just spit out. He bites his lip, trying to keep the pain from showing. The cop grilling him is completely thrown off, while another officer quickly reports to his boss that this kid is Tak Sejong. The other cop suggests they back out. Facing the chief with this mess isn't easy, especially with an 18-year-old kid who took down a whole squad of fighters. But the real kicker is the guy they're talking about is nearly 2 meters tall and named Tak Sejong. The chief just sighs, saying that even if he had stabbed them or snapped their limbs, he's still legally a minor. Plus, the whole thing went down in his own home. The cop reporting can't believe the chief isn't holding him accountable just because he is listed as a minor. Laying out for the dimwits here, the chief states that it's a free zone for the journalists to poke around if things go south. Without hesitation, he just tells the other 2 cops to wrap this up. Amidst the bloodshed that went on here, which practically painted the walls crimson, the lead cop ends the call, looking utterly disgusted. And just like that, he makes the call to pull out. No second thoughts, no cleanup, he is just done. And with that, they storm out, leaving Sejong standing there, completely puzzled. After all that mayhem, Sejong calls back Aunt Hyunjin, finally giving a yes to her offer to stay in the States. A smile creeps onto his lips as his aunt lights up just as much, thrilled at the idea. She suggests running it by his uncle to sort out a schedule, but Sejong shuts that down instantly. No need for that now. Instead, he talks about taking a year-long trip first. He feels like exploring the country a bit while he's still young, as going abroad is a little dangerous for a minor like him. But Hyunjin brings up his education, worried that this year-long trip might just push it back even further. He needs to get back to school soon. That thought alone frustrates him. Gripping his sword tightly, he can't shake the feeling that he has been shut inside for too long. He wishes to breathe. Only then he can figure out his next move. Se-young makes up his mind and tells her the house will be empty for a while, and he won't be able to stay in touch much. Despite that, Hyunjin hopes they can still keep in contact. Therefore, Se-young needs to take time off. Junhyuk calls Chang-soo in frustration, demanding to know what's taking so long. It's been 2 days, and he has heard nothing. Chang-soo explains that he tried reaching his men, but no one answered. Furious, Junhyuk sarcastically thanks him for making him endure Soo-yeon's smug face again. Totally pissed, he yells that Chang-soo still can't follow orders, just like in middle school. Equally ticked off, Chang-soo tosses his phone away. Right then, Soo-ho calls, informing him that Soo-hyun wants him to bring the photos of Se-young's whereabouts. Then, Chang-soo briefs Soo-hyun and the others about Se-young's hideout on the rooftop, but still, no photos of him. Soo-hyun orders Soo-ho to send it all to Ryo-hae's men in Korea, ensuring no loose ends this time. He refuses to repeat the hellish 2 years they have suffered. Shifting gears, Soo-hyun brings up Junhyuk's words about playing with their new toy and demands an explanation. Totally clueless, Chang-soo denies knowing anything. Meanwhile, Soo-ho guarantees that the scum will be brought in within an hour. Soo-hyun responds with a chilling smile. Soon enough, a new herd of men in black, this time real pros, are ready to settle the score with Se-young. The operation begins. The operation to end Se-young is officially underway, led by Baldy, who is mobilizing this task, alongside his beast-like partner. With everything set, the operation commences. Without further ado, this swarm of reckless manly beasts marches to the rooftop building and bursts open the door. This power duo storms in like they're auditioning for a men's fashion show. Just then, Baldy warns Kenta never to let his guard down, even if their target isn't even 18, especially after seeing the walls, practically painted with the thug's blood. Cracking their knuckles, they are gearing up for a showdown, and it's all set for whoever is left standing in the end. Baldy tends to take the first turn here, ready to kick things off. But Kenta pats his shoulder, signifying the eerie vibe coming off that bloody door. The first time he mutters words out is to tell Baldy that there resides a beast inside. The bald head looks stunned to see Kenta keeping a next level of caution when he hasn't even seen the target yet. He believes their target is keeping a vicious dog with a nasty habit of tearing things apart. But it's awfully quiet down here. Kenta believes whatever it is, it's something big. Well, he gotta buy the man's word, intending to take on this operation carefully. Right then, the crime partner duo, flashing their starter poses, are all ready for this showdown. But before Baldhead gets a chance to knock the door down like a cheap copy of Bruce Lee, Se-young's Hulk mode takes things to the next level. He practically shoves the door to Baldhead's face and slams it to the wall ahead. It sounds like a massive bug getting crushed. Bearing witness to this brutality, Kenta growls under his breath. His anger spikes. This whole situation seriously pisses him off. There, he locks eyes with Se-young, the muscular monstrosity, as it's a showdown of sheer strength as Kenta, the powerhouse, charges in like King Kong, throwing a full-force punch straight at Se-young's head, but Se-young doesn't even flinch. At that moment, Kenta realizes that he is dead meat because Se-young is no human. Wasting no time, Se-young swings a brutal blow, probably giving Kenta's facial bones a crash course of destruction. That said, Kenta gets sent straight to the ground, and his face practically pancakes against the floor. Meanwhile, Baldhead gets a hold of himself, but witnessing Kenta's brutal demise and Se-young's vicious vibes horrifies him. Meeting with Soo-yeon's gang, Soo-yeon desires to know Takashi's reason for ditching his fighters and letting them go by themselves. He describes that there isn't any need to supervise the beasts, who are the best of the best. That's Japan's Samdo Syndicate of Mizurai Division, Takashi, ensuring there is no room for concern. For now, Soo-yeon awaits the results as Takashi's phone straight up flashes. Takashi picks up, warning Baldhead not to call without a real reason. But Se-young's voice cuts in, thrilled about Japan's involvement. Kenta's chest gets crushed by Se-young's giant feet, his screams hitting Takashi hard. Shocked to his bones, he stammers upon hearing Kenta's cry for help. Then, Se-young tightens his grip, demanding their location. But Takashi ends the call. He grabs deadbeat Baldy, giving him 5 minutes to drive there, and the shiny-headed driver has no other choice but to do as he says. In a flash, Se-young lifts off the van's ceiling, throwing in last-minute modifications. Afterward, the muscular monstrosity slams Kenta's deadbeat body inside, and he hops in, directing Baldhead to keep up the pace. In the meantime, Takashi hasn't broken the news to Soo-hyun's gang, as he couldn't snap out of it himself. Then, he tells the kids to pack up and leave. As the operation happened to be a big failure, so they better head to safety. Upon asking, Takashi shuts down any queries unless they get to safety. This ticks off Soo-hyun, who was already pretty pissed about these idiots having a hard time catching a loser kid. And now, a lecture coming from this guy gets on his nerves. A sudden noise of a car holding up. Takashi is freaking out, confirming that he is already here. On the run, Baldhead barely keeps the junker under control as it screeches down the street horribly. Meanwhile, the bystanders have their jaws dropped, seeing a junker carrying a hottie, which means it's probably a big movie shoot. Skidding to a stop, the muscular freak steps out boldly, with no care in the world. He is dead set on his goal to obliterate the scumbags. But the public flashes cameras like he is some action hero about to go viral. He asks Baldhead for the floor, which Baldy tells him is the 8th floor. Then Sejong commands the guy to lead the way. Upon shivering, this nightmare isn't over for him. The massive sword makes the crowd certain that it's a film set, maybe Captain Otaku's running the show. But then, the car's rear collapses, exposing Kenta's mangled face, which is the latest art piece of Sejong. A chill rips through the crowd before they erupt in screams. The terrified cries echo into the building, sending a shiver down Soo-hyun's spine. Things are about to go wild. Soo-hyun's nerves twitch, wondering why he is hearing screams. But Takashi redirects their attention, listing down 3 possible stairways that are safe to take. In a hurry, Soo-jung asks Soo-hyun where they should go for safety. That kickstarts his brain to come up with a better idea that gets him out of here alive, even though Soo-hyun has no darn clue who is after them. He is downright sure that this entity is either on hold downstairs or is already coming through one of the stairways. If that's how it is, he lets others know that they better split up. This totally sends a shockwave to everybody else, while Chang-soo makes a point of going as a group, which might hold a better chance of survival. He insists that Takashi can practically shield them when push comes to shove. However, Soo-hyun points out to this bonehead that anyone who makes it out alive can call for help or the police much faster. That sort of makes sense to Chang-soo, but he still isn't sure who has the worst luck today. Suddenly, Soo-jung lunges at Soo-hyun, grabbing his arms and insisting on tagging along with him. Without wasting another second, Soo-hyun quickly gives out orders that Soo-ho is to take the back stairs, while Chang-soo is assigned the other route. Meanwhile, he tells Takashi to follow them. As they all dash toward their designated stairways, it's unclear who's about to take the road to heaven. Chang-soo grits his teeth, hating how things turned out and how those scumbags always find a way to do him dirty. In the meantime, Sejong, the raging beast, has already chosen the stairways that can lead him to the big jerks. Moving ahead, Chang-soo is pretty clear about pissing his pants, dreading the time he might come across this guy. He wonders why that jerk didn't pick the idea of sticking together just to be safe. Gritting his teeth, he dashes downstairs at full speed until something eerie stops him in his tracks. At the next stairs, Soo-hyun and Soo-jung follow Takashi's footsteps, as Soo-hyun carries Takashi while carrying a gun. Soon, this trio safely leaves the exit, but someone's shadow throws them off for a second until a couple of police officers pin their guns at them. Sighing loudly in relief, they get a hold of themselves, finally dodging a near-death event. On the other hand, Chang-soo somehow blanked out at seeing Sejong's power-up and massive size, making him look otherworldly. Sejong tries waking up these dimwits, calling his name out, and then Chang-soo's eyes flip open. The guy is totally out of it, but a second glance at Sejong makes his eyes widen in shock. Barely getting a hold of himself, he wonders who the heck this guy is. Out of nowhere, there is a horrific sound coming from behind, so Chang-soo dares to turn back only to see Baldy's wrecked face. That sight sends a crazy chill running down his spine. Cutting to chase, Sejong asks Chang-soo if they should start. He knows this guy has forgotten him completely, but Sejong ensures that he remembers him every day of his life. Outside, a couple of helicopters and plenty of cars block the passageway for the attacker, leaving no way out unattended. Without further ado, using a speaker, they loudly yell, not having any clue who resides inside with the intention of harm. They are dying to know Sejong's true intentions, but he calls out to Chang-soo. Chang-soo has no clue how he knows his name. That's when this muscular freak declares being Tak Sejong, and now Chang-soo is pretty screwed. Dropping a huge bombshell on this dumb face Chang-soo, his jaw practically hits the floor. Taking a look back, this jerk doesn't recall Tak Sejong looking anything like that. But his mere confession of being Tak Sejong in flesh and bones surely reminds him of the times he kicked the kid in the guts. Those horrible times payback is about to be fatal for this guy, whose face is like he has seen a ghost freak. Down there, the lead cop directs their orders to search the background of Tak Sejong. He commands to ring the students transferred to the hospital, asking if this name sounds familiar. Meanwhile, Chang-soo can't believe his eyes still, as he didn't see this coming. Once known to be the scrawny loser, Tak Sejong now stands like a steroidal freak show. This gives him the creeps. One thing's for sure, he looks nothing like the shorty he remembers. Cutting to the chase, Sejong breaks the silence. He claims that his parents Tak Changsun and Go Yunjin burned themselves alive before the Guanghwaman 3 years ago. The moment the words leave his mouth, the entire crowd below falls into stunned silence. Their jaws drop, eyes widening in shock as the memory of that incident rushes back to them. All the media press isn't about to miss this blockbuster case. Even the speaker looks at the loss for words. As his battling sword slides to touch Changsu's neck, he flinches, probably seconds away from pissing his pants. Tears stream down his face. Changsu tries to yell something, but the fear of dying twists his words into cries. Turns out, a little skin cut from battling sword scared the crap out of Changsu. Just now, Seyoung modifies his blade to be the altar, ready to deliver punishment for Changsu's sins. This breaks his spirit enough to call for his mommy and daddy. That mere sight of his weeping disgusts Seyoung. He tells this jerk that his parents burned themselves to a crisp to get much attention. Without missing a beat, he boldly declares that from this moment on, he swears to make everyone pay for his parents' death with their lives. Unleashing his fury, Seyoung practically goes insane as his rage skyrockets. A few moments later, this whole thing is now being telecasted all over the country, flashing as breaking news of a hostage situation near Samsung Station, with police confronting the captor's needs. The media breaks the news, revealing that the captor is the son of those who burned themselves alive 3 years ago, a kid who was just a middle schooler at the time. Despite the sheer size of this beast, no one can believe it's just a teenager out for revenge. That body doesn't belong to a kid, or maybe he's an imposter. The lead cop orders a full investigation into his identity, birthplace, and everything connected to him. But deep down, he has a bad feeling. Among the hostages is the son of Chairman Kim Sang-pil, the owner of Aegis Security, the largest security company in the nation, responsible for even protecting the president. However, in reality, Aegis Security operates as a criminal syndicate with influence nationwide. The son of Chairman Kim Sang-pil was one of the culprits behind the teen assault case 3 years ago. And if the one holding the hostages is really Tak Seyoung, then they're in serious danger. Time's running out, and the lead cop tends to ask for Seyoung's demands. But Seyoung is done talking. But he is eager to know what Seyoung wants from them. He blurts out, there is nothing they can give him. Seyoung claims to have surfaced here only to drop an announcement. Chills run down their spine. They are hooked on what Seyoung has on his mind. Without wasting another second, he calls the names of Lee Soo-hyun, Jang Soo-jung, Kim Jun-hyuk, Kim Yoo-jin, Lee Soo-ho, Jung Da-hoon, Nam Hee-woon, and last but not least Kim Chang-soo. Thus, he declares this list of people has their deaths and their parents' deaths written on his hands. All of the top dogs watch this stream live, but that doesn't end Seyoung's hunger for revenge, as he intends to kill their siblings as well. Now it's getting out of hand. The whole crowd down there seems to be shocked to their bones. He challenges the lot to bring the army or police into this, but nothing is saving them from this fate. Hence, their deaths are written by his hand, no matter what. If they fail to capture him, or worse, if they cross his path, he won't hesitate to kill them. Chang-soo finds his lost voice, threatening Seyoung that if his father hears it all, he is soon destined to live the rotten life of a cockroach. As Seyoung shivers a little, Chang-soo thinks he is the same old loser, but Seyoung's quick turn terrifies the heck out of him. Wasting no time, Seyoung calls this a declaration of war. With a single swing of his blade, he takes off Chang-soo's head, sending it crashing to the ground like a discarded ball. In a panic frenzy, the people down there witness the brutal scene, only to be left frozen in fear. Seyoung plants his battling sword into the ground, standing like an absolute menace. Nothing about him looks like a loser. On the other side, the chairman of Aegis Security and his men are shaking with rage, unable to believe what just went down. Watching it all unfold live on their tablet, they lost their son in mere seconds. Slamming the device shut, the chairman is dead set on making Seyoung regret the day he ever laid a hand on his son. Tears streaming down his face, the devastated father of Chang-soo has his spirit broken. Desperate for blood, under the weight of losing his only son, unable to contain the overwhelming grief. Moving on, the 21st elected president bears witness to this horror story. His face settles into an eerie calm, and his mind spirals with heavy thoughts. But he wastes no time and dials the commissioner. Moments later, the commissioner picks up, only to realize it's none other than the top dog himself, Lee Sung-bok, on the other end. Thus, the president demands to know why Lee Sung-bok hasn't given straight-up orders to kill this guy. Seeing Seyoung's fierce stand, even the lead cop knows that he isn't a match for this dude, or else he would turn him into his punching bag. Without further ado, he gives out orders, showing they have a full-blown order to kill that. A flood of urgent requests piles up, all directed at the lead cop, urging him to take charge of what's coming next. They are informing the lead cop to handle what's about to hit him. Without hesitation, there are practically 3 snipers set in this area, already aiming at the target. The kill order is in motion, and the snipers are locked in position. 3 shots remain, but the lead cop is already maneuvering the situation. Right on cue, Special forces storm in, cranking up the chaos to a whole new level. The lead cop wasn't ready to have the special folks on board. Surrounding the area, the special folks, geared up, take their position much faster. That kind of gets on the cop's nerves, while Se-young watches the roaches crawl on the ground in fear. Just as Se-young is about to say something about the police, a sniper round rips through his skull in a flash. The entire crowd freezes and time sits still. With eyes wide, jaws dropped, in an instant, it's over. One perfect shot and the menacing target has been taken down. Guessing if it's actually true, the sniper, wanting to confirm the kill, scopes in for a second look, only to freeze in horror. Se-young, like a grim reaper, meets his gaze, deflecting the bullet with his sword. The radio crackles, informing the whole nation that Sniper 1 terribly missed his shot at killing this guy. Instantly, the lady cop feels the weight of orders from the top dogs, constantly asking to take him down at all costs. There, he snaps, directing his squad to shoot at Se-young now. But just as they shower bullets, Se-young jumps from one building to another as if it's like a walk in the park. Their jaws hit the floor, wondering what else they were about to witness today. With numerous people bearing witness to his stance, even the special forces feel at a loss for words. Swooshing in the air, this menacing power beast practically makes good use of battling sword by wrecking the buildings. One by one, Se-young moves forward, safely reaching his spot, hoping to pick his path. Slamming on the ground barefooted, the police squad hurries over here, practically stopping them from pulling a swift escape. Informing others, all the cars on standby get an alert and start to follow their path. As the car rushes towards him after the chaos unfolds, Se-young doesn't hesitate. Without a second thought, he declares that anyone standing between him and his revenge will be nothing more than collateral damage. That's when Se-young lets out a scream as the car closes in on him. Se-young lands a ferocious blow at the cars, straying them off their sense of direction. Gripping his sword's handle, he yanks it out, matching the right time only to slam that car down another car, completing the sandwich crash. Just as the car collides, it sparks a heavy explosion, taking everyone off guard. But what's more surprising is that Se-young walks in the blazing fires of vehicle collisions as it doesn't hurt his skin. That fearsome aura is enough to make anyone shiver. However, what's truly shocking for onlookers is Se-young's careless catwalk through the blazing inferno after the car's collision, as the lead cop have their eyes widened in shock. As it turns out, he struggles to get a basic understanding of what kind of anomaly Se-young is, questioning if his existence is even human to begin with. Out of frustration, fear pinches the guy as he grits his teeth, completely clueless on how to handle this nightmare, asking special forces to take their position, because they better try something to take control of this situation. Right then, he quickly yelled out the orders, but Se-young couldn't care less. Just as another shower of bullets heads his way, Se-young leaps in the air and vanishes in seconds. That's enough to tick off the lead cop's squad, who has no clue where the guy went. Then, a chill from behind catches them off guard. Apparently, they are being cornered badly by the special forces who got their guns pinned at Se-young. Having him trapped, the lead cop signals snipers to commence their attacks. Keeping Sniper 1 out of this one, he commands Sniper 2 to get a hit. Without skipping a beat, the Sniper 2 scans the target's perfect area. Just then, the target has been locked. What's left is to drill a hole in that muscular freak, and that's about it for the day. Just like that, Sniper 2 shoots a savage blow that is powered to drill a hole into anyone's skull. However, it's not an ordinary human to be taken down by the sniper's measly bullet. Se-young's eye was seconds away from piercing his eye by the sniper's gift of a bullet from above. The dude's reflexes are unmatched as he swiftly dodges the bullet, making his sword block the bullet's impact, all in a short time. He couldn't care less, but he hears the lackeys aren't giving up on their deathly wish. Flipping out, the lead cop yells at his lackeys to restrain this King Kong with any means necessary, while Se-young doesn't even flinch. Pointing their guns at the beast, they are trying hard to overpower this freak, but that's just not their day-to-day. Standing tall, Se-young yanks his sword, and the special forces rain down the shower of bullets altogether. At the sound of gunfire, the muscular freak swings once. Just one flashy strike and a shockwave erupts, knocking everyone off balance. It sends them all flying like ragdolls. Countless men thrash to the ground headfirst, as the media gets to capture every single horror unfolding here. Even the journalist and cameraman are shocked to their bones when witnessing such horrifying powers. Against this beast, there is no one here who even stands a chance to land a single blow at him. Letting out a piercing scream, the cameraman shocked to his bones, jittering like crazy, but he recorded it all. A single dude alongside his giant sword is wrecking the area like it's his play zone. Things are about to go wild. The media press run for their lives, as their camera slips down and breaks in half. Even then, the whole thing is being recorded and broadcast all over the ground. Bearing witness to this terror, Soo-yun looks to be crapping his pants in the comfort of his home. Besides him, Soo-jung, wrapped in a blanket, shivers like it's 0 degrees out there. Her mind was a battleground of fear. constantly replaying Seyoung's promise of violent retribution. Not to mention, Soo-hyun's mind circles Seyoung's violent retribution for killing their parents and siblings as well. From that moment, things are about to get really interesting. After creating a chaotic mess, this guy chokeholds Kyungman, demanding to know what he told the hostage taker. Without further ado, Sarge deliberately screams at this guy to spit it out already. When facing Seyoung solo, Kyungman was shocked to his bones, and his fight-or-flight radar broke in seconds. In no time, this guy spills the beans, revealing that Seyoung asked the whereabouts of the kids who escaped the building earlier. Horrific as it is, this guy bluntly drops the truth, giving away the hospital's name. As his blood boils, Sarge lands a smacking punch to his face, knocking this guy out. He is quick to inform the hostage taker, redirecting his stance towards the Shinjin University Hospital. So he orders all the troops to rush there instantly, while Soo-yoon and Soo-jung await their death. Standing at the top, Seyoung scans the building of the hospital, ready to take his vengeance. Hitting the news headlines, the newscaster claims the atrocious hostage taker pulled a quick escape and has fled the scene. With a chilling act of cold-blooded murder, he chopped off Kim Chang-soo's head and then effortlessly breached the police perimeter. Blowing right past the police lines, the newscaster confirms his current location is unknown. Drenching in sweat, Soo-hyun clenches his teeth out of frustration and fear. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun's whole personality stumbles, making her act like a scaredy cat. All of a sudden, someone bursts in, creeping the heck out of Soo-hyun, so he yells at the skank, asking who she is. Out of nowhere, 3 other guys show up, claiming to be the Secret Service about to give an extra set of hands and protection. Some reach Soo-jung, while one requests to be Soo-hyun's escort. Without wasting another second, the Secret Service escorts the measly kids of top dogs out of the Shinjin University Hospital. They followed, being careful going out. Seyoung, on another roof, was looking at all the action at the hospital. All of a sudden, this menacing beast steps in the air, probably being suicidal at this point maybe. Meanwhile, inside the Shinjin Teaching Hospital, Sarge's warnings flood the ears of the Secret Service. Bladman gestures a signal, and the lady gives a quick nod to it, while Soo-hyun's practically freaking out. Little did they know, Muscular Freak had them in his sights, and with a thunderous crash he jumped in, catching them off guard. Shattering the glass, Seyoung's hunger for vengeance is much crazier. No one saw that coming. Seyoung just hopped like a rabbit and was right at the window they were passing. People were majorly freaked out. Seyoung's murderous intent led him there. Stepping out of the hole, this menacing Burj Khalifa scares them to their wits' end. Nobody notified the big tops about how horrifying their attacker looked. Not only that, Seyoung's muscular build completely overwhelms them, adding to their state of shock. Other than that, Seyoung takes a look at the surroundings and the nuisance at hand. Just as Seyoung locks eyes with Soo-hyun, Soo-hyun flinches but his protector drags him out of the way. Time for plan B, she drags the kids to the elevator on the other side, but not on Seyoung's watch. He screams that his parents never ran, so why can't they? The horrible memories of his past, and what hell went through with his parents flash back in his mind. That's enough to fuel his tank of fury, as he recalls his parents' love for him was so strong that they defied their parents' power for his sake. The raging beast lets out a thunderous scream, calling Lee Soo-hyun's attention. That's enough to send shivers down Soo-hyun's spine, who tells the slowpokes to shoot the guy already. Amidst pulling their guns out, Seyoung smacks a hardcore punch to their face. Even with their guns out, they can't save themselves from tasting the raw power of Tak Seyoung. He practically knocks Baldman off the ceiling like a legit sixer. Yanking away anything in sight, the rest of the folks now get the whole situation. Pinning their guns at Seyoung, they waste no more time but open fire at this beast. While they're busy, the evacuation squad gets the elevator going, but it's taking a long time. Just then, a dude slides by the wall and almost reaches the elevator. However, his horrifying face of nothing but broken bones is enough to scare the crap out of anyone. His last try to save himself, but the untimely attack of Seyoung crushes what was left of him. Seyoung almost reaches the elevator, but the door closes on him. At his wit's end, Soo-hyun is lashing out at the dumbheads for not calling the helicopter and taking the elevator downstairs instead. Then, a bang from the ceiling confirms that the Grim Reaper has followed them, trying to break open the elevator. This trio, and what looks like a giant baby, suffer inside this block of space, waiting for their deaths. Unbeknownst to what's going on at the upper end of this lift, as it turns out, this menacing beast is about to stab the elevator's ceiling only to carve a hole down there. The lady insists the guys get down real fast. That's when the muscular freak stabs his whole sword deep in the elevator with no prior consent. She is quick to share. The next scheme is to make a run for it the second the door flips open. Reaching the 3rd floor, Soo-hyun is crapping his pants to see how close to death this guy is. Then comes the 2nd floor, but Seyoung is getting impatient out there, so he starts the stabbing spree to be the next serial elevator killer. Surprisingly, the trio dodges every attack like luck is on their side, at least for now. Just as they reach the first floor, the real chaos begins. As soon as the elevator doors opened, Soo-hyun jumped out like a cat, taking a breather. The lady of the Secret Service follows him, but Se-young's sword stabs the shoulder of Soo-jung's guard. Witnessing this horror, Soo-jung breaks free of her savior's embrace in fear and jumps out of the elevator. Right then, the man in black stands up, like a deadbeat zombie using the last pinch of strength. However, the elevator's ceiling drops on his face, crushing him like a bug. It looks as if a sudden collapse of the ruble fell upon the poor guy as the lady takes hold of Soo-jung. Gritting his teeth, Soo-hyun sees the muscular monstrosity step out of the lift from his own eyes. His panic level is off the roof, just as this packed man rages outside, asking them why in such a hurry. In the middle of their small talk, a jeep crashes in and meddles with their reunion. The third-party jump sort of throws off everyone. Thus, the car screeches beside those two and slams into Se-young, but the guy's massive tricep is enough to keep this measly jeep in check. The dude barely flinches, and by then, another car makes a cool entrance. Hopping out of the car in style, he spots the kids' devastating looks. Soo-hyun can't believe Mr. Yang made it all the way here. Without missing a beat, he tells them to hurry and get seated inside. As the smoke clears up, Se-young spots the scumbag's quick getaway. Taking a look at him, panic drills inside Soo-hyun, wondering if they are ever going to make it out of there alive. Though Mr. Yang and Se-young lock eyes, getting a sense of each other's intensity, he instructs the lads to find an escape route while he holds Se-young off, keeping him occupied. There's no time for hesitation as this is their only shot. They insist to Mr. Yang that there is still enough time to pull off an exit, but he orders them to get going. Right then, the jeep speeds off into the night, leaving Mr. Yang behind to face whatever comes next. Now what's left here is Mr. Yang and Se-young's incomplete revenge. Although he has no clue of what just happened, he plans to make it quicker, so he can take his revenge the way it's meant to be. Ignoring Mr. Yang, Se-young takes the route to go after the jeep, but Mr. Yang bangs a couple of gunshots to earn his attention. Unfazed, Se-young glares at the old fool, who doesn't like the mercy he just showed a second ago. Breaking the silence, Mr. Yang is quite oblivious to how a monstrosity like him came into being. However, if Se-young plans on hunting down those kids, he'll have to go through Mr. Yang first. Whipping out his gun in style, Yang is ready for this showdown. Without further ado, Se-young wastes no time, bolting straight at Yang. He catches the old man completely off guard. He never saw it coming. Time to end Yang's heroic act, Se-young smacks his face with full force, shattering bones and sending him flying. That one punch seals the fate of Mr. Yang, who was being a talker a moment ago. Now, all that's left is to refocus on his original target. Cracking his neck, his eyes burning with flames, he turns back to finish what he started. With a sudden burst of energy, Se-young launches himself into the air, closing his distance between the runaway losers. This muscular freak, with his sword, leaps into the air to target the kids. Se-young's eyes burn with fury, closing in like a storm. The trio scrambles, but escape feels impossible. Despite his monstrous leap, looking more like bunny hops at his nightly stroll, Se-young struggles to spot the right jeep in the sea of identical cars. Well, the guy resorts to taking a guess and slams right on top of it. However, that turned out to be the wrong guess after all. Meanwhile, the lady and Soo-hyun keep track of what's unfolding behind them. These guys have chills running down their spines. The lady and Soo-hyun can't help but flinch at that side. The lady's nerve twitches to think this had gone this far. Furthermore, he ensures the driver, who is still in his right mind, reveals that they are pretty near the rendezvous point. Thus, he must stop him, even if it means risking everything. She is down to let this guy use anything off the table, which means a grenade launcher gets a free pass. Without further ado, the dude shoots off the grenade at Se-young, and it would take much more to take this beast down. Keeping up the pace, they get their cue to make a run for it. Checking out, Soo-hyun gives a big glint, knowing that this might have done the trick. Unbeknownst to them, Se-young took advantage of the grenade, causing him to jump off the car real quick to face them next. Slamming at the car's front, he practically scares the crap out of everyone, and Soo-jung lets out a blood-curdling shriek. In a flash, Se-young slashes the ceiling of this jeep. Yanking the metal scrap out of the way, this creeper is down to deal with the scumbags seated here. Without further ado, Se-young wields his battling sword, ready to bestow the great magic of sacrifice. That's them. This freak lifts his blade and is about to land a savage below. Right then, the lady snaps at the driver to get it together and slams the brakes. That quick stunt knocks off Se-young's balance, sending him flying like a rocket. Using his sword to hit the brakes of his landing, Se-young glares at them out of frustration. Doing a safe landing, Se-young notices the special forces all in position at the next end of the bridge. Rolling the smoke grenades to Se-young's side, they catch him off guard, but this dude jumps out of the smoky haze in seconds. And just like that, the muscular freak pulls a full-on Spider-Man move, lifting himself onto the bridge upside down. His furious glare all set on the special forces being a real nuisance. Commencing open fire, they shower fierce rounds of bullets at Seung, who leaps out of there in full spree, yanking them away. Caught off guard, Seung announces that anyone left with the desire to live should take the advice and leave now. He makes sure they clearly understand that by his hands they will know death. One of the guys in this troop tells Seung to shut it. Meanwhile, the helicopters have already arrived at the scene, and the lady of the Secret Service gets Sujung and Suhyun to safety. Right behind them, Seung is practically slamming anyone or anything in his sight out of the way. Wiping out the pests, he spots the runaway losers boarding the helicopter. Just as Seung locks eyes with Suhyun, he considers throwing his blade but holds back at the last second. He admits to having different plans for this pair, so he vows to let them drown in fear until the day he catches them. Panic spreads in the presidential residence as everyone rushes to stop Tak Seung. Officials desperately try to take control of the situation, but everything quickly gets out of control. Moreover, reports confirm that Tak Seung reveals his identity during a hostage crisis. He is only 18 years old and was last seen at Yangdong Bridge before vanishing without a trace. 3 years earlier, he became the victim of an attack by a group of teenagers, an incident that makes headlines. That same year, his parents set themselves on fire in front of Gwanghwamun in protest, shocking the public. After that, he disappears from records, and no one knows what happens to him. Now, authorities struggle to predict his next move. They search for answers, but no one can determine where he is heading. Meanwhile, another pressing question remains: why is the president absent during such an important crisis? An investigation is underway to uncover the full truth behind the incident. Tak Seung has a list of names in his mind: Lee Soo-hyun, Jang Soo-jung, Kim Jun-hyuk, Kim Yoo-jin, Lee Soo-ho, Jung Da-hoon, Nam Hee-woon, and Kim Chang-soo. He vows to take their lives and also swears that their parents and siblings will face the same. Meanwhile, in a high-level meeting, key figures gather despite the absence of Kim Sang-pil, the chairman of Aegis. Lee Joyang, the chairman of Shinjin Corporations, emphasizes proceeding with the meeting without the president. The vice president, Jang Sung-chul, emphasizes the need to stop any related videos or keywords from appearing online. Moreover, he calls on Goodfield and Blue Wing Media to use every possible method, including search engine censorship, to prevent the spread of information. Blue Wing Media's chairwoman Oh Young-suk prepares to take action. Blocking all information seems nearly impossible. While Goodfield has the power to censor content online, Kim Jun-gu, the chairman of Goodfield, explains that the news has already spread across social media, especially on a platform called Fence, and that they have repeatedly asked their former competitor, Nuri Orium, to take down related content, but the situation remains out of control, to which Lee Joyang reminds them that regardless of whether Tak Seung is captured or killed, they must find a way to calm the public. Meanwhile, officials are growing more uneasy. Jung Hyun-suk and Nam Kyung discuss how Tak Se-young showed no fear even when faced with guns. Reports claim he dodged sniper fire, making it clear that eliminating him won't be easy. Soo-hyun and Soo-jung barely managed to escape alive. And now, everyone is questioning how they can possibly stop someone who seems almost unstoppable. If bullets had no effect, then why did he bother dodging them instead of taking the shots head-on? Moreover, the police fail to control the situation, and now stronger forces, like soldiers and hired fighters, are ready to step in. Many doubt that Tak Se-young can escape unharmed once the real firepower is used, and catching him alive is not important anymore. Whether they send a trained killer or a whole team of fighters, their only goal is to get rid of him in any way possible. Everyone feels tense, wondering who he will go after first. Tak Se-young walks through the memorial park, and his body trembles as he approaches the graves of his parents, Tak Chang-soon and Ko Yoon-jin. Moreover, he knows he should have come here first after gaining his freedom. He regards and kneels down, apologizing for being late. He begins to cry and whispers how much he misses them. As he wipes his tears away, he explains that they don't need to worry about him and that he knows exactly what he is doing. Meanwhile, police forces arrive in full force. Moreover, armed officers prepare themselves, ready to act. Tak Se-young, however, remains calm. He silently promises his parents that they can sit back and watch because nothing will stop him now. Moreover, he refuses to forgive anyone responsible, and not a single one will be spared. He wants them to feel the same despair and suffering that he endured. The people who ignored his parents' cries for justice will now face the same silence. Just as he lost his parents, he plans to make their families experience the same pain. That is his decision. The innocent boy his parents once loved no longer exists. He leaves that part of himself behind. Suddenly, the authorities arrive in full force. The army surrounds him, demanding his surrender. Loudspeakers blare orders for him to stop and give himself up. But Tak Se-young has no intention of listening. He wants this country to feel the fear and helplessness of having no one to turn to. In his eyes, those who do wrong must face the consequences, and he will be the one to deliver justice. Without hesitation, they prepare to open fire. The helicopter is flying in the sky when Tak pulls out his sword and strikes inside the helicopter. But before they can act, he speaks. Tak Se-young starts questioning why they dare to disturb his parents' final resting place. The soldiers hesitate for a moment, shocked by his words. Suddenly, a loud crash shakes the ground, catching everyone's attention. Confusion spreads among the forces as they struggle to understand what just happened. The helicopter crashes on the ground, and Tak Se-young quickly moves toward the helicopter, surprising everyone. The soldiers realize what he is trying to do and start shooting, but he is too fast. Bullets fly everywhere, but he dodges them easily. Everything turns into chaos as some officers get caught in the crossfire, falling to the ground in pain and confusion. Afterwards, a message comes from headquarters. The commander listens and looks shocked. The order is clear that Tak Se-young must not be killed. He isn't just a criminal. The government sees him as someone useful for the country. The soldiers are shocked by the sudden change in orders. Despite all their efforts, including bombing him, Tak Se-young remains unharmed. The soldiers are in disbelief, wondering how they could possibly capture someone as dangerous as Tak Se-young. Meanwhile, a security director is questioned about the extreme measures being taken, and he warns that using those weapons, combined with armor-piercing rounds, could have serious consequences. However, the director isn't concerned. He points out that the chairman just witnessed his own son's death on live television, and in such a state of rage, he isn't thinking rationally. To him, the only thing that matters now is revenge. When someone expresses concern about the situation getting out of control, the director simply says exactly what he expects. Aegis mercenaries and security forces from the Middle East have ended their contracts and are now heading back to Korea. Moreover, the sudden movements shock everyone, leaving them questioning if this is really happening. At the same time, employees from Aegis's subsidiary companies, with a force 20 times larger, are gathering in Seoul from all across the country. The scale of the operation raises fears that the chairman is willing to start an all-out war in the middle of the capital just to avenge his son's death. Meanwhile, the forces struggle to keep track of Tak Se-young. Reports confirm that they have lost sight of him. When asked about the Bravo Company, the response is terrifying because they have suffered heavy casualties and urgently need medical support. Reinforcements are waiting for further orders while leaders decide the next move. The commander demands that all Bravo troops who are not in critical condition be called in immediately. He wants to hear firsthand why their elite special forces suffered such heavy losses, and how an entire tank platoon was destroyed, all while fighting just one civilian. Kim Jong-hyuk wonders if Chang-soo, the man he had secretly ordered to handle the situation, might have revealed his involvement before dying. Or maybe Chang-soo was just unlucky, dying at the worst possible time. Either way, the timing is making him paranoid, making him feel like he might be the next target. Moreover, he curses Chang-soo for being useless even in death. Meanwhile, his phone starts vibrating with an incoming call from Kim Yoo-jin. Moreover, Kim Yoo-jin calls him because she demands to know why he took so long to answer, to which he replies that he only picks up because it's her, but he's on edge, fully aware of the situation around him. She brings up Kim Jun-hyuk's involvement, saying she knows he ordered Chang-soo to deal with Tak Se-young. Afterwards, he becomes shocked and realizes how she knows. Yoo-jin quickly reveals that Chang-soo never kept secrets from her. That idiot, he thinks, furious that his orders have been exposed. But instead of backing down, he snaps at her, telling her to do whatever she wants. If she wants to go and expose everything to Chang-soo's family, she's free to do so. He becomes angry and throws harsh words her way, but Yoo-jin isn't having it. She calls him out on his attitude and tells Kim Jun-hyuk to be more careful with his words, to which he asks why she called in the first place. She then brings up Tak Se-young, hinting that she might know a way to put an end to his bullshit. Afterwards, Jun-hyuk demands to know what she means. How could they possibly stop him now? To which Yoo-jin calls him hopeless and reminds him of something, an old incident that started everything. At first he's confused, but then it clicks. That day, when they had all ganged up on Se-young, he had refused to back down. Even as they hit him over and over, he kept screaming, taking every blow without breaking. Jun-hyuk remembers now the boy they had mocked as a knight in shining armor, always trying to stand up for others, no matter how badly he was beaten. Tak Se-young is spotted near the Jeomdan mountain hiking trail. The soldiers quickly move into position, ready to strike. Confident in their firepower, they believe this attack will finally put an end to him. Afterwards, gunfire bursts, and for a moment they assume they have succeeded. But then, screams echo through the area as something moves through their ranks. Soldiers collapse one by one, unable to react in time. Panic spreads among soldiers as no one can see him. They shout in confusion as they struggle to locate their target, and the situation becomes out of control because Tak Se-young is still out there, and he's not going down easily. At the same time, news stations report a horrifying crime that took place 2 days ago near Samsung Station. A hostage was brutally killed, and experts see it as a direct attack on the country's authority. Moreover, Police officials promise they will not ignore criminals who put the public in danger. As authorities block off major roads, the hunt for Tak Se-young continues. Specialists examine his past, believing that losing his parents at an early age affected his mental state. A youth counselor, Lee Jung-ok, suggests that his difficult childhood may have stopped him from thinking clearly. Another question is why he waited 3 years before taking action, wondering if his trauma made him imagine a reality that doesn't exist, to which psychiatrist Lee Bang-seok claims that Tak Se-young is a psychopath, suggesting that his past trauma has made him emotionally detached from others. Another expert argues that no matter the circumstances, murder is never acceptable. Instead of resorting to violence, he should have sought legal help or turned to those around him for support. Moreover, some believe that law enforcement alone isn't at fault and that the police need more authority to ensure public safety. Concerns grow that innocent citizens could be in danger. Others argue for looser gun laws and stricter measures against criminals to prevent similar incidents in the future. Meanwhile, social media is flooded with discussions about Tak Se-young. Online posts highlight his transformation from a bullied student to a ruthless avenger. Some wonder if his parents' tragic deaths were just the beginning, speculating that he might target his former tormentors next. Others debate whether his violent actions were planned over the past 3 years, or if society's neglect played a role in turning him into a killer. In the middle of the serious discussions, some users find amusement in the comment sections, treating the situation like entertainment. Afterwards, a shocking video of Chang-soo's decapitation has leaked online, spreading rapidly across social media with hashtags linking it to Tak Se-young and the murder case. Users react with disbelief, horror, and even dark humor. Some express shock at watching the video multiple times, while others joke about the remaining targets losing sleep. Speculation arises about who the other 7 might be, with links being shared to profiles for more information. Opinions are divided. Some doubt the video's authenticity, while others argue that multiple versions circulating online prove it's real. One viewer points out that Tak Se-young's strength is beyond human, comparing him to a real-life action hero. Some even joke about him having superpowers and suggest raising him like a game character. International users start sharing the video, causing a global stir. Meanwhile, the police are deep into their investigation. The Major Crimes Unit has recovered most of the items from Tak Se-young's apartment and started analyzing them. Authorities are now trying to determine whether he stayed in contact with any of his neighbors, searching for more clues about his actions and possible connections. A team is currently questioning people in the area, hoping to gather useful information. Investigators are also searching online for any clues related to Tak Se-young. As soon as the hostage situation began 2 days ago, authorities started digging into his online presence. Since he had been living in isolation, they expected to find something from his past social media activity. However, despite checking his accounts, there were no recent traces of activity. To make matters worse, all records from more than 3 years ago had been completely erased, leaving them with no digital trail to follow. Moreover, searching online seems pointless now. An officer mentions a report from the previous day about Tak Se-young. It came from Memorial Park, where his parents were laid to rest. However, there hasn't been any word from the army. Despite their efforts to capture him, there's no proof they actually succeeded. Another officer hesitates before sharing something troubling. The team sent to the scene has gone silent, and no one can reach them. This leaves everyone stunned. How could an entire unit just vanish without a trace? The police tried contacting Ground Operations Command for answers, but all they got was an unclear response. The officers will be returned once an investigation is complete. Moreover, the situation becomes even more confusing as questions arise about who is actually being investigated. Instead of focusing on Tak Se-young, the authorities seem to be targeting the officers who were present at the scene. This feels completely illogical, leaving many frustrated and suspicious. With the military refusing to disclose any details due to security regulations, doubts begin to grow. It feels like they're hiding something, and some begin to wonder if the situation is completely out of control. Afterwards, the situation takes an unexpected turn. Despite Tak Se-young acting alone with no links to terrorism, the military is forcing its way into the case, insisting on the need for large-scale operations. The sudden involvement raises serious questions about their true motives. Meanwhile, urgent calls keep coming in, and reports emerge that Jang Soo-jung's security team has requested protection for Kim Jun-hyuk, while soldiers have surrounded Kim Yoo-jin's residence. They claim to be acting under direct orders from Ground Operations Command, and are demanding that local law enforcement withdraw. Moreover, military interference is becoming more aggressive than what is really happening behind the scenes. The authorities are looking into Tak Se-young's family and have found his aunt, Ko Hyun-jin, who now lives in the United States. She moved there after studying abroad and later became a U.S. citizen through marriage. Officials have contacted embassy agents to get in touch with her, planning to convince her to come back to Korea. However, they are also ready in case things don't go as expected. If she refuses to cooperate, They have an alternative plan to handle the situation. In Los Angeles, someone knocks loudly on a door. The people outside introduce themselves as officials from the Korean embassy. The woman inside, surprised by their sudden visit, hesitates to respond. As she shuffles toward the door, they insist she let them in. She demands to know why they are there, but they avoid answering directly and urge her to open the door. When she refuses, they finally reveal the reason for their visit. It's about her nephew, Tak Se-young. Hyunjin hesitates before confirming that Tak Se-young is indeed her nephew. Worried, she asks if something has happened to him. The officials tell her that Se-young is in a complicated situation and urge her to let them in. Afterwards, she unlocks the door. Before she can react further, a team of armed officers arrives, ordering her. She watches them in shock as the heavily armed SWAT team steps forward, surrounding them. Soo-hyun answers the call with irritation, asking what Hee-woon wants. Nervously, Hee-woon explains that police officers are stationed outside his home, so he feels safe. Moreover, he asks if Soo-hyun is okay too. But Soo-hyun coldly reminds him that his father isn't just an ordinary government worker like Hee-woon's. Realizing his mistake, Hee-woon awkwardly mentions that a company like Shinjin must have strong security, even special forces, to protect them. Soo-hyun confidently confirms this, assuring that Tak Se-young wouldn't stand a chance if he appeared. Afterwards, Hee-woon laughs and assumes Soo-hyun must be at home, but to his surprise, Soo-hyun tells him that he's actually in Yongsan. Moreover, Hee-woon is shocked to hear that Soo-hyun is in Yongsan, to which Soo-hyun explains that his father sent him to the U.S. military garrison there last night with only a small security team, and Soo-ho is with him as well. Hee-woon is repeating the location in disbelief. Afterwards, Soo-hyun makes it clear that even if Tak Se-young tries to find him at home, he won't be there, to which Hee-woon hesitantly agrees that the garrison is probably safer than staying at home. But Soo-hyun points out that entry is strictly controlled, something Hee-woon wouldn't understand. Hee-woon awkwardly agrees and admits that the garrison is indeed the safest place. Annoyed, Soo-hyun tells him to stop overreacting and ends the call, saying their conversation has gone on long enough. Hee-woon nervously tries to continue speaking but gets cut off. Left trembling, he whispers Se-young's name in fear. Moreover, Hee-woon panics, desperately pleading for forgiveness. He insists that he only followed orders and had no choice. He tries to shift the blame onto Soo-hyun, revealing that Soo-hyun is at the Yongsan U.S. garrison and was the one in charge. Trembling, he begs over and over, promising that he's sorry for everything. His voice breaks in fear. Afterwards, Se-young calls his name, to which Hee-woon instantly responds, hoping for mercy. But then Se-young asks a question. What did Hee-woon and his friends do when he begged for help and pleaded for his life? Before he can say anything else, Se-young ends the conversation without hesitation, and a terrified scream echoes. At Shinin University Hospital, the beeping of machines echoes, and doctors assess the critical condition of Yang Muyal, also known as Mr. Yang. His injuries are severe as his spine is fractured, his ribcage is completely crushed, and his limbs are either broken or dislocated. Moreover, internal bleeding has worsened his condition. Meanwhile, a major decision is made that they are going after the one responsible. The head of Sangmu Hall has left the dojo, likely to take action after what happened to his brother. Given his personality, it's no surprise that he wouldn't take any actions against his brother. At the same time, he asks about Hoguk Hall. The members have been instructed by their master to stay cautious and wait for further orders. Shinjin Lee Joyang calls someone after a long time. A lot has happened recently, causing trouble. However, now is not the time to focus on personal worries. The priority is Mr. Yang, who was severely injured while protecting a foolish young man. Moreover, protecting others was part of Mr. Yang's duty, and injuries were always a risk in his line of work. Shinjin Lee Joyang feels sad and upset about what he has put him through. Moreover, Mr. Yang agreed to protect the man's son because of old connections, even though he wasn't eager to do so. Now he is badly hurt because of the son's foolish actions. However, there's no use in blaming anyone. Muyol made his own choice, and as a bodyguard, he knew the risks that came with his duty. The boy responsible is still on the run, but the army has been sent after him, so it's only a matter of time before he is caught. The old man looking back senses a familiar sense of fear from 20 years ago. With this in mind, a decision is made to reach out to Jang Yol, the leader of Zhonghua Hall, for possible help. At the presidential residence, officials discuss the latest developments. The president requests a briefing on the situation and is informed that one of Tak Se-young's targets, the son of Deputy Tax Commissioner Nam Ki-jung, has been killed. Moreover, the security forces assigned to protect the victim, including police squadrons and military troops, have been completely defeated. Investigations at the scene are ongoing. Meanwhile, Tak is heading towards Sejong, with authorities actively pursuing him. Afterwards, the president then gives a surprising order. Nam Ki-jung must be detained and prevented from contacting anyone. The request leaves the commissioner in shock. Moreover, The president gives strict orders about Tak Se-young. He says Tak can go wherever he wants, but all roads must be closed so he can't meet anyone. He also wants to hide the news. Reporters must not be allowed to take pictures, and if they do, their cameras should be taken away. If needed, they should be arrested. Some officials are worried, but the president says he will take full responsibility. Moreover, the presidential inauguration is in 2 days, and he does not want people to know what is happening. He believes that if TV news is controlled, the public won't find out, and he is not worried about people sharing information online. The president believes that public opinion is shaped by television, not the internet, which he dismisses as a place where young people just talk nonsense. Moreover, he encourages a commissioner to take on a more important role for the future of the new government, and the commissioner quickly agrees to follow orders. Meanwhile, Tak Se-young stands out in the crowd since he doesn't have a license. People recognize him and panic, shouting his name in fear. Despite this, he remains calm and gets on the bus. News about the deputy's situation has spread, though efforts were made to keep it confidential. Concern arises over Soo-hyun's safety, but reassurance comes as he has already been relocated to Yongsan. This location, specifically within the U.S. Army garrison, was chosen because the threat is not ordinary. A hotel inside the garrison provides a secure place for him. Lee Jo-yang's quick thinking impresses others, as it wasn't an obvious solution. Getting Soo-hyun inside such a highly secured area with full protection wouldn't have been easy, even for someone with strong connections like Shin-jin. However, there is a question about whether extra security was even necessary, to which Lee Jo-yang responds that the whole place is a military base, and all he did was assign him a few secretaries who would also act as bodyguards. Even with the police and military involved, the suspect was still let go. The plan is to mislead everyone, including their own side, so that the soldiers act as bait if the suspect returns. Moreover, one person even thinks about sending Soo-jung there for protection. However, another option is suggested by Lee Jo-yang to take Soo-jung to a family residence, which is considered even more secure. While this idea is acknowledged, there is hesitation due to the upcoming inauguration. Since things are already tense, drawing more attention could make the situation even harder to manage. Afterwards, one person agrees to send Soo-jung quietly without informing the guards, ensuring that no efforts go to waste. Moreover, Lee Jo-yang assures him that the garrison will be informed and that she will be safe. Since it's a U.S. Army base, no one will know what happens inside. To ease concerns, a backup plan is revealed. A helicopter is ready to fly the children from the garrison straight to the airport. From there, a private jet will take them overseas if needed. The level of preparation impresses the listener. Lee Jo-yang recalls a familiar saying, "Never fully trust anything." This brings back memories of their younger days when that belief was often repeated. Tak Se-young notices that the police are blocking other traffic but letting his bus continue. The driver panics and tries to alert the officers, shouting that there's a murderer on board, but the police do nothing. Moreover, Tak wonders if they know where he's going or if they're trying to trap him. However, it doesn't matter to him. He believes that the people who committed crimes and went unpunished are guilty, as well as those who protect them or choose to ignore their actions. Tak Se-young believes that everyone responsible must be punished, as it's only fair. Inside the U.S. military base, officials discuss sending Soo-jung there for protection. One person questions the decision, pointing out that she is already under higher security than even the Prime Minister. However, Agent Nam insists that the garrison is the safest place and assigns her to handle the situation. Meanwhile, Tak continues moving through the city. He has passed Sejong Road and Cheonggae Plaza, while authorities are controlling traffic at key intersections, including Sungyamun and roads leading to Seoul Station. Moreover, authorities continue controlling traffic, clearing lanes toward Iljiro while tracking Tak Se-young's movements. They speculate that he is either heading toward Wonhyo Bridge or Mapo Bridge, considering his target, Young Da-hoon, who is in Yeongdeungpo. As Tak crosses the five-way intersection, he moves toward Namdaemun Police Station, confirming that he is likely heading toward Mapo Bridge or Hangang Bridge. Officials acknowledge that he is after Young Da-hoon, but decide not to interfere. However, one officer is shocked by this decision, but the higher-ups insist on keeping the situation under wraps for just 2 more days, prioritizing their own safety over stopping Tak. Panic spreads as news breaks that Tak Se-young has entered the U.S. Army base. Officials struggle to understand how a criminal could bypass such strict security. At first, they assume he found a way to sneak inside, but the truth is far more shocking. Instead of slipping through unnoticed, he broke straight through the outer wall and walked in without hesitation and started shouting the name Lee Soo-hyun. The sudden sound of sirens makes them both pause for a moment. Soo-jung hesitates, feeling uneasy about the situation, to which her friend dismisses the concern. She assumes it is just a routine security check and urges her friend to continue walking. At the entrance, the soldiers remained firm, their weapons aimed directly at Tak Se-young. Moreover, they give a final warning, demanding that he drop his sword and surrender. Tak Se-young wonders about their determination, realizing that they have no intention of listening to him. His only goal is to find Lee Soo-hyun and Lee Soo-ho, yet these people stand in his way as if he is a criminal. The soldiers repeat their command. Tak Se-young understands that no amount of reasoning will change their minds. He wonders about the world he is facing, where people always treat him as a threat instead of trying to understand his reasons. Afterwards, Tak Se-young finally takes action. The soldiers react immediately as they prepare for a fight. Then, a loud crash breaks, and the ground vibrates under the force of impact. A soldier holding a gun shouts at others, telling them to do something instead of just standing still. Afterwards, the army vehicles come, and Tak fights back with his powerful sword, killing soldiers. The impact of his landing makes a loud bang, showing his great strength. Standing on the vehicle, he grips his sword tightly. The soldiers now know they are facing a very dangerous man. At CIA headquarters, agents closely monitor a live broadcast streaming directly to command and across America. Riley is responsible for recording and keeping the camera steady while making sure every moment is captured. The screen displays that an elite force, known for its strength and skill, is being completely overpowered within minutes by a single Asian individual. The competition between the highly trained soldiers and the lone fighter leaves everyone watching in disbelief. Some had seen recorded clips before, but witnessing it live makes it feel even more unreal. A senior analyst comes forward, trying to process how this is happening. These soldiers were meant to be the best, yet they fell so easily. Meanwhile, another official at the front examines the consequences that, if one person can take down an entire elite squad, the future of Drapa's combat android project is uncertain. The program was meant to create powerful artificial soldiers, but its purpose seems meaningless now. The soldier enhancement program is still far from success, with current methods only improving human abilities by 30%. This level of advancement is nowhere near the extraordinary power they have just witnessed. Realizing the importance of this discovery, an official decides to travel to Korea immediately and tells others they can join if they wish. He also orders an immediate ceasefire, understanding that the target is too valuable to be harmed. Instead of eliminating him, their new goal is to capture and study him. Tak sees a huge number of enemies ahead. Before they can escape even further, he knows he has to break through. Afterwards, he pushes forward, and suddenly the soldiers stop shooting and start falling back. Confused, he wonders why they are letting him pass so easily. Something feels off. The commissioner is in shock. He can't believe what he's hearing. Tak Se-young has broken into the U.S. Army garrison. He suddenly smashed through the wall and went inside. The police had kept their distance because they were ordered to avoid conflict as much as possible. Since they weren't expecting him to break in, they had no time to react. A notice has been sent to the U.S. Army, and they are waiting for a reply. Nam Ho-jung answers a call. The voice on the other end urgently asks where they are, to which she responds that they are at a hotel inside the U.S. Army garrison as instructed, and they are currently with Lee Soo-hyun and Lee Soo-ho. The caller suddenly orders them to leave immediately, but before the message can be completed, the call is cut off. Something is wrong. Nam Ho-jung realizes and borrows a phone for a moment. Looking at the screen, she realizes something alarming. The phone has the same symbol. The network has been jammed. Moreover, the situation feels off. If the troops were just in the middle of tactical training, it would make sense. Afterwards, talk doesn't feel right because they haven't fully withdrawn, yet they aren't attacking either. It's unclear what they're planning. None of it matters. Anyone who gets in the way will die. That's all there is to it. Before arriving, there was a phone call with Yujin. Soo-young claimed to have a way to stop the monster in its tracks. She even said he would come to them willingly and comply. Afterwards, Soo-hyun tells her that they are probably talking about that guy's aunt. Father has already sent someone to handle it. Moreover, his aunt is no secret since the information was already shared with father. But when Yujin heard about it, she just laughed. Jun-hyuk might know something since Yujin always tells him everything she does. He was frustrating as always, refusing to share any details. There is no way they reached her before father did. Afterwards, Soo-ho is asked to bring some water from the car by Soo-hyun because the water here has a bad smell and isn't drinkable. Soo-jung also requests a bottle, and Soo-ho agrees, stepping away to get it. Afterwards, Nam Ho-jung reminds Soo-jung to go back to their room, to which she responds and feels confused because Soo-hyun is still there. Nam Ho-jung grabs her tightly and whispers that she has a bad feeling and they need to hurry. They walk in the wrong direction from their room, and suddenly, a loud scream is heard, and they start running. Inside a high-security building, a dangerous fight is happening. Tak Se-young, a strong man with big muscles, stands calmly, while others look at him in shock. He is not scared at all, even though many people are against him. The armed soldiers try to stop him, but nothing works. Their weapons and skills are useless against his power. One soldier realizes this man is not normal. He is stronger than anyone they have ever fought. Moreover, some soldiers don't hear the order. They start shooting, but the strong man dodges every bullet. In panic, the soldiers set off a huge explosion. The building shakes, and fire bursts everywhere. He hurries to escape, but he becomes frustrated as he realizes communication near the garrison was completely down, leaving them unable to act sooner. Panic rises when they are denied entry, no matter how many times they try to explain the situation. Even mentioning Lieutenant Colonel Kessler does nothing to help, and all attempts to contact him fail. Soo-hyun curses and rushes forward, desperate to take action. Soo-hyun is desperately calling for Soo-jung, clearly panicking. Moreover, he opens her room and shouts for her name and realizes that Jang Soo-jung has escaped. Afterwards, Tak comes face to face with Soo-hyun, and he freezes in shock and confusion. Tak reminds and blames him for something terrible. A memory from 3 years ago comes back. Tak saying sorry while looking for trouble because he was holding some papers. Afterwards, Soo-hyun admits that 2 people have been bothering him, to which Soo-hyun started to bully him and hit him with his legs. Tak Se-young was in pain, barely holding on to consciousness as Soo-hyun forcefully made him look up. His captor wasn't finished and wanted to make sure he stayed awake. Soo-hyun asked if he recognized them, but Se-young didn't because he had never spoken to them or shared a class, though they seemed to know him well. That only made him more frustrated. They were angry because Se-young had once gotten in their way, something that had clearly bothered them for a long time. As the past resurfaced, Se-young realized he was trapped in a situation that was only getting worse. Moreover, Tak Se-young was confused and in shock, unable to understand why he was being treated this way. Soo-hyun claimed that he had blocked their path in the school halls, but he had no memory of doing so. It seemed ridiculous to him that such a small action could lead to this kind of punishment. That's why Tak is here to take revenge on Soo-hyun because he bullied him in the past over senseless things. Soo-hyun, full of anger, challenges Tak Se-young to kill him. He refuses to show fear, even when facing death. But Tak Se-young doesn't hesitate. He calmly agrees and moves to attack, to which he realizes that it's too late, that his challenge was taken seriously. Desperate to survive, he plays his final card. He warns that if he dies, a woman important to Tak Se-young will die too. Moreover, Soo-hyun keeps shouting at the fighter, daring him to kill him. He tries to manipulate the situation by blaming the fighter for his aunt's death, claiming that if she dies, it will be his fault once again. His words are meant to provoke and make him hesitate. At the same time, the soldiers from the ground urgently call out to Mr. Tak and inform him about his aunt, Ko Hyunjin, who lives in LA. The soldier warns that her safety is at risk, hinting that powerful people might be involved. Afterwards, Soo-hyun becomes confident that his father would have taken precautions. He believes that when it comes to money, even America and its military can be influenced. Then, surprising news is delivered that the U.S. government has already stepped in to ensure Ko Hyunjin's safety. They have evacuated her and her family to a secure location, where they are now under protection. This unexpected news could change the situation, leaving the man's threats meaningless. The man sarcastically praises the attempt to use family ties as a way to manipulate someone, calling it a basic and predictable tactic, something so common that even beginners are taught about it in training manuals. Then, a new piece of information is revealed. Among the civilians who have been evacuated from the hotel, there are 2 very important individuals, a Korean Secret Service agent and the child of the president-elect. A superior figure asks whether these individuals followed the given orders, but the response is negative. Instead of complying, they are now requesting a helicopter to safely leave the garrison. Afterwards, one person suggests delaying them, but another warns against acting too quickly. Dealing with the president-elect's child could be difficult, especially with a trained agent by her side. Any wrong move could make them suspicious, which might cause trouble. The order is given to fulfill their request to arrange a helicopter and take them wherever they want to go. However, they must remain under watch and the exact message should be relayed to them. The person in charge acknowledges the command, confirming that everything will be handled as instructed. Meanwhile, the superior figure assures that they will arrive in Korea before morning. Someone calls out to Mr. Tak, informing him that America wants him. Tak Se-young addresses Soo-hyun, questioning his actions. It seems things could have ended quickly for him. But now, the situation has taken a darker turn. Afterwards, Mr. Tak states that he expected this resistance from Soo-hyun. He was never the type to be afraid or regretful. Because of that, his death won't be quick. It will be slow and a punishment designed to make him suffer as much as possible. A high-ranking officer orders the soldiers to move aside, but the men in front of him remain still. Moreover, he reminds them of his authority, warning them of consequences, but they remain firm, explaining that they are only obeying higher commands. Afterwards, he becomes angry and slaps one of them. A calm soldier steps forward, urging everyone to stand down. He speaks carefully, pointing out that the captain should understand why they are blocking his path. Instead of arguing with them, he should be addressing the higher-ups. Realizing he needs to act quickly, the captain demands a phone to contact his superiors. However, he is informed that all communications are down in the area. If he wants to make a call, he must leave the premises, leaving him in a difficult position. Nam Ki-jung has been taken into custody and is being moved to a nearby hotel. The orders are to treat him well and avoid upsetting him, as someone will be visiting him soon. His bodyguards will accompany him, and once he reaches the designated location, he is to make contact. Meanwhile, someone enters with a sudden phone call from Nam Ho-jung of the Secret Service, his father urgently asking about Soo-jung. The call is quickly transferred, and he anxiously asks about his daughter's safety, to which Soo-jung reassures him that she is unharmed, explaining that they managed to escape just in time after receiving a warning about the attack. Wanting to ensure her protection, Nam Ho-jung asks to speak with Soo-jung's bodyguard. The bodyguard confirms that they are currently in a helicopter and will soon land at the nearest helipad before heading to a safe house. Afterwards, Nam Ho-jung then asks about Soo-hyun's whereabouts. However, he is informed that when they left the hotel, Lee Soo-hyun and Lee Soo-ho were still inside, suggesting that they might be in danger. Tak Se-young remains focused on Lee Soo-hyun and Lee Soo-ho, which unintentionally helps Soo-jung to escape. Nam Ho-jung apologizes for using them as bait, but he is reassured that she did well and should not feel guilty. The situation must stay secret to avoid political trouble. If news spreads, critics might use it against the new administration. She is advised to use this reasoning if she feels guilty. Afterwards, she thanks him for the understanding response. Meanwhile, Lee Joying is trying to get answers. His assistant confirms that Jang Soo-jung entered the garrison, having seen her himself. However, he gets frustrated because Jang Seung-chul is not answering calls. Moreover, he wonders why Seung-chul is avoiding him and questions if he is too focused on gaining power to care about his daughter's safety. At the Yongsan U.S. Army garrison, frustration grows as authorities feel powerless over the situation. A captain, already stressed, wishes for a quiet day but is met with urgent news. Moreover, officers sent to Noryangjin have discovered 2 headless bodies, and it seems Tak Se-young has escaped. The victims, a man and a woman, were found in the basement of a shopping mall under renovation. Their deaths were reported to the police, who immediately sent officers to investigate. Some reporters heard about the case, but so far, the media has remained silent. This lack of news is not surprising, as even previous violent acts like Tak Se-young killing Nam Hee-woon and storming a U.S. military base failed to make headlines. In a country where information is often controlled, such events are quickly buried. Authorities discover that the 2 victims were officers from Dongjak Police Station, identified as Kim Youngjin and Chae Myungji. They were found in uniform with their police IDs, making identification immediate. However, there is a confusion because when the station confirms that neither officer was assigned to patrol the area, and no official records show them being dispatched. Moreover, the officers did not use a police vehicle, meaning they had abandoned their assigned duties. When asked who reported the bodies, the police revealed that the tip came from an anonymous call. The estimated time of death falls between 11 p.m. and early morning, around 2 or 3 a.m. Afterwards, the officials criticized the American military for failing to inform them that Tak Se-young had escaped. Despite their claims of being a global superpower, they failed to capture a man who had openly entered their base. Another urgent report comes in that a man has turned himself in, claiming to have information about the murders. Authorities are left wondering what new disclosures are about to be exposed. Fear spreads among the soldiers as they witness something shocking. One of the bodies, thought to be dead, suddenly moves. The soldiers panic, and one of them stumbles back, convinced the person is still alive, while others stare in disbelief. Moreover, someone wonders if it could be post-mortem convulsions. But no one is certain. Someone suggests calling for medical help, but others doubt it would make any difference. In the end, they decide to leave the body as it is, disturbed by what they just witnessed. The officers decide to leave the convulsing body where it is, assuming the movements will eventually stop. Meanwhile, news arrives that someone from America is on the way to meet Tak Se-young. This person is credited with preventing his aunt's kidnapping and is expected to arrive the next day. Afterwards, Tak is offered a comfortable stay at the base, with food, clothing, and the option to walk around if he gets bored. After the officers excuse themselves, Paul, the American visitor, finally arrives. He introduces himself, but Tak is uninterested and demands he get straight to the point. Paul notices Tak's sharp and impatient attitude, finding it hard to believe he is only 18. However, he reminds himself that despite appearances, the fact remains, Tak is still just an 18-year-old. Paul then prepares to explain the purpose of his visit in simple terms. Paul explains that the situation is a matter of mutual benefit. The U.S. military did not interfere with Tak's actions despite being in a high-security facility. In fact, they even assisted him, despite some initial conflict where they ended up at a disadvantage. Moreover, he reminds Tak that it was the U.S. government, along with himself, that prevented the Korean government from kidnapping Mrs. Ko. She and her family are currently safe under American protection, which was an obvious decision since they are U.S. citizens. Afterwards, Tak is surprised to hear that it was the Korean government that attempted to take his aunt. Paul clarifies that the kidnappers were likely agents from one of the departments of Korea's National Intelligence Service. Assuring Tak that the U.S. will continue to ensure his aunt's safety, Paul leads into the request they want from him in return. Afterwards, Tak acknowledges the assistance he received in reaching the hotel without interference, and, in return, offers to grant one request. However, Tak, for his aunt's safety, warns him that they must ensure her well-being, making it clear that if anything happens to her or her family, the responsibility will fall entirely on them. Moreover, he also threatened them as he emphasized that even the smallest harm to his aunt will have serious consequences. If she suffers any injuries, America itself will face the consequences. He gives Paul a final warning. The plan to control Tak Seong using Ko Hyunjin has worked, as he has managed to turn the situation in his favor. His intelligence and ability to manipulate events are far beyond what anyone expected, especially considering his young age. Afterwards, a secret tunnel is revealed as a way for Tak to leave the base undetected. Before he departs, he is given valuable information. One of his targets, Jung Da-hoon, lives nearby, specifically in Yeongdeungpo. Additionally, Kim Jun-hyuk and Kim Yoo-jin are also at their homes, but they do not appear to be overly concerned about any threats. Despite this, they have been caught trying to escape multiple times. As a final note, a new name is mentioned, Baekseon, leaving an open question about their significance to Tak. Afterwards, the surveillance team found something important about the name Baekseon. Kim Jun-hyuk and Kim Yoo-jin often talked about this name. Baekseon was also attacked by the same group of teenagers. A shocking truth is revealed that there was not just one victim in the attack. Initially, reports mentioned both a male and female student with severe injuries, and 2 ambulances were dispatched. However, the records were later changed to show only 1 ambulance, making it seem like Tak Se-young was the only victim. Those involved admit that they were paid to stay silent, which meant Tak Se-young's parents never learnt the full truth. Even though many students and teachers witnessed the incident, the perpetrators managed to cover it up completely. The truth about Baekseon's disappearance becomes clearer. Everyone who had any knowledge of her hospital staff, witnesses, and even her family was silenced with money. Her family, like many others, was compensated to stay quiet. However, the situation took a turn when Tak Se-young's parents refused to accept hush money. They saw their son's suffering as something that couldn't be erased with compensation, leading them to take drastic action. The perpetrators, powerful figures in politics and media, believed they could manipulate the situation and control the narrative. Their goal was to keep Baekseon's condition a complete secret, ensuring the truth never reached the public. The witness finally speaks out, realizing the truth should never have been hidden. The situation was too big to cover up, yet fear kept everyone silent. Now, with 2 police officers murdered who were his co-workers, and the witness is terrified for his own life, he decides to confess. Meanwhile, someone arrives in the room and tells the news to his captain that Tak Se-young has been spotted escaping the garrison, heading straight for Gangnam. The officers are shocked to know that Tak Se-young was inside the garrison the entire time. If that's true, then someone else must have been responsible for last night's murders. Afterwards, the captain quickly instructs the detectives to check on Kim Jun-hyuk and Kim Yoo-jin. They become confused if Tak was inside the base. How could he have been involved in the attack? And if it wasn't him, then who is responsible? People online are watching real-time footage of Tak Se-young running toward Gangnam. Some are reacting with shock, while others treat it like entertainment. Meanwhile, someone is tracking Tak Se-young's movements in real time and realizes he has changed direction. Instead of heading toward them, Tak is now moving toward Shinsadong. One person feels relieved that they aren't the target for now, but Jun-hyuk panics upon realizing that Shinsadong is where Kim Yoo-jin is. Jun-hyuk tries to warn him immediately, but Yoo-jin doesn't seem to understand the urgency. Jun-hyuk suddenly decides to leave, alarming his mother. He urges her to leave with him before Tak Se-young arrives, but she doesn't understand his fear. Moreover, she reminds him that the army is protecting them, believing they will be safe. Jun-hyuk insists that the army won't be able to stop Tak and that if he arrives, they're all as good as dead. His mother is shocked, but Jun-hyuk claims that he knows a way to stop Tak completely. The detectives are confused about Tak's movements. If he was inside the garrison, it wouldn't make sense for him to be responsible for the murders the previous night. At the same time, witnesses saw him leaving the base today, which raises more questions about what really happened. Their attention then turns to Baekseon. He assumes she didn't survive because her injuries were too severe. When he first saw her, he believed she was already dead. However, Captain Detective isn't convinced and demands an investigation from Detective Kuto to confirm whether she is truly dead or still alive. Afterwards, the detective orders a full investigation into Baekseon, demanding every piece of information available. Moreover, he also asks about her parents, wanting to know if there have been any updates on them since the incident. Meanwhile, fear spreads among those being targeted. Someone realizes that the authorities, both the army and the police, are powerless against Tak. Junhyuk panics as he becomes convinced that he will be the next victim. A frightened person reveals that Baek Seon is currently at Yongjin University Psychiatric Hospital. Moreover, he insists that he is telling the truth. Afterwards, Tak reminds him that since the incident has happened, every effort was made to find Seon, but she seemed to have completely disappeared. The media, school, and even classmates' social media accounts acted as if she never existed. The cover-up was so thorough that even those searching for her began to question their own memories. Moreover, Tak realizes how wrong this is. No one, whether a classmate, teacher, police officer, or even the government, should be able to use ignorance as an excuse. The authorities ignored the desperate pleas of Seon's parents and erased the life of an ordinary girl. This injustice is what has led him to take action. A group rushes toward the second floor of Yongjin University Psychiatric Hospital, determined to reach their destination. A doctor falls onto the ground and is knocked aside but insists that he is fine. Meanwhile, someone finally arrives at their goal, addressing Baek Seon after a long time apart. At the same time, panic spreads as Tak Se-young is spotted entering the hospital. His arrival is unexpected and makes everyone shocked. Guards outside Baek Seon room are waiting for Se-young to show up when they notice cracks on the floor. Instead of climbing up the stairs, Se-young opted to jump through the ceiling instead, and into the second floor. Horror is visible on the soldiers' faces when they see Se-young pop out of the ceiling, but to their surprise, as soon as he lands on the ground, immediately dashes forward towards the soldiers. Before they can even react, they are hurled against the wall, only to be met with an unstoppable barrage of fists. After knocking out all the guards and clearing the passage, Se-young looks around to find Seon's room. However, his eyes widened when they shifted to a room. Blood splattered all over the door's glass. Carefully, he opens the door, having no idea of what he might witness. But to his surprise, blood coats the room, and in the middle of the room, Seon is twirling around with a hand in her knife, while, on the ground beside her, Junhyuk is holding his bleeding throat and his mom. Oh, Youngsuk can't help but cry for her child. Tears fall down Youngsuk's face. Junhyuk chokes on his own blood. His mom cries out and curses them for laying their hands on him and claiming they had no right to hurt her son. But she falls silent when the same knife which killed her son pierced through her throat as well, murdering her in one blow. Seon then tells the dead body, the only people who could say those words were Se-young's parents. She then turns to Se-young and greets him, but Se-young is stunned. Baek Seon was a Trafford student from Hoyeon Girls Middle School. She was the #1 student there. On her first day of school, she was eager to meet everyone, but at the same time, she was expected to perform well in this school too. One day, Tak Se-young was looking for items in the trash can that the bullies threw away. But when Seon tried helping him, he warns her to not help him, as he is scared of the bullies and what they might do to her too. But instead of heeding his warning, she assures him that she'll play along, pretending to be just another student who bullies him. Se-young's lips trembles, trying to hold back his tears as this new girl is actually trying for him, and will go through all these troubles just to help him. And now in the present, these two are staring at each other. Nostalgia hits them hard. Another memory of them races through Seon's mind. At a cafe, Seon reveals a guy asked him out. Se-young gets a strange feeling inside him but finds it natural as she is popular, smart, and pretty, but reminds her if someone finds them together she might get into trouble. Though Seon smirks confessing, she rejected the guy who asked her out. It was Lee Soo-ho, Se-young's bully. He was the son of the school board director, the board governed by the Shinjin Foundation. Not knowing about his bullies, she reveals she doesn't like Lee Soo-ho's gang. When he tried asking her out, brought along his whole group of friends, advising her to join their group and date within their league. Later on, at school, she made new friends. Hyejung said to her she'd introduce some kids from another class. Se-young tells her not to leave, but she has to leave as other kids have been avoiding her lately, though Se-young insists her to not leave. Listening this, she gets annoyed, asking him what has gotten into his head and if he wants her to be an outcast. Narrowing his face, Se-young confronts, she is already an outcast, the moment she rejected Lee Soo-ho and started hanging out with Se-young. He explains, if she shows up today, they will give her a mission. They will tell her to do as they say if she want to be friends again. Seon finds the idea of doing a mission pretty easy. Se-young's body trembles, doubting she ever drank glue, smoked cigarettes, or stolen from a store because they might make her far worse. Memories keep flooding back. Then the memory of the final incident comes to mind, when he was being beaten to death but Seon intervenes to make them stop. She had the same look on her face, the look she has right now in the present, but the only difference is the scar she got because of that injustice. Overwhelmed by the emotions, he cups her face. Fingers trembling against her skin, he falls to his knees. after Sion tried stopping the gang from getting bullied in the past. The bullies took them to an abandoned building in the school. Sejong's body trembles in fear. While Changsu mocks him for interfering, his laughter's cruel as he calls Sion nothing more than a toy. Meanwhile, Sejong had turned his gaze toward her, but she lay unconscious on the cold floor, her small frame unmoving. Changsu addressed him as real knight armor, demanding to know where all the confidence is coming from. Yujin, always up for violence, encourages Changsu to beat the shit out of him. Then Sujung stepped forward, acknowledging Sejong as the one who has been holding the girl from them. Was he in love with her? The thought sent laughter rippling through the group. Dahoon laughs maniacally at the thought of two losers dating each other. On the other hand, Soohyun asks if he is pissed because Sujung and Yujin wanted to set up a kissing booth for his girlfriend. Yujin had laughed, saying they weren't even going to make her do it for free. $5 an hour, that was the price they had set for her dignity. But this guy threw a wrench in their plans. Sejong cries, pleads and promises to do anything as long as they keep Sion out of this. His words make them all smirk. His desperation only amused them, and they decide to strip him as well his girlfriend Sion. That being said, Sejong begs them to leave Sion, but their gaze shifts to Sion, who suddenly stood up, looking out of the window. She then looks back at them smiling, and then falls out of that window. A loud crash echoes throughout the abandoned building as she hits the ground. Panic waves off the bullies' faces while Sejong is traumatized. Back in the present, Sejong couldn't help but cry as Sion's name fell from his lips, over and over. Meanwhile, Sion caresses his face and brings her face closer to his. She smiles as she remarks how much he has changed beyond recognition. Furthermore, she acknowledges, Sejong Mist has a lot of questions for her, but they need to get out of the hospital forced. The two exits the room, but a group of guards have assembled, threatening them with their guns to not move another inch, but the enemies weren't just in the front as the doctors and nurses suddenly stabbed the guards. With this shocking turn of events, Sejong is surprised, while the doctor orders his men to retreat. As the doctor approaches the two of them, Sejong takes his position for a fight but stops when he addresses Sion with respect, calling her counselor, and reports that their retreat is prepared. Sion merely nods, praises him for doing work so efficiently. Although he advises them to hurry, Sejong's confusion deepens. What is happening? Military helicopters rush to the hospital, though Sion and Sejong ride a SWAT police van. Sion notices Sejong being quiet, aware of the fact that he must have many confusions. Whereas she points out Sejong has changed drastically and demands to know what happened to the cute little boy she once knew. Sejong doesn't respond, narrows his head so Sion sits in front of him, asking if he is not going to talk to her because she knows he must be curious about many things. His voice trembles, the question slips out. Was she hurt? He thought she was dead. Her body trembles, and the tears she tries to hold back are now falling out of her eyes. She throws her arms around him, holding on as if afraid to let go. She apologizes as she regrets not telling him she was alive all this time and causing him so much pain. He tightens his hold around her. A broken thank you escapes his lips. He is grateful for her being alive. In the police headquarters, the team leader is still grilling the witness about everything he knows. He slams his hand on the table with a loud crack. The witness flinches in fear, but he wants to know whether it is possible that Sion's parents were the ones who killed the police officers yesterday. The team leader is aware that the witness didn't come forward out of guilt. It was an act of survival. The witness admits that it is the truth, but more than that, it wasn't Sion's parents that were the culprits because they are dead. They died in a car accident a year ago, and obviously the dead couldn't commit murder. In addition, Sion's parents weren't good people either. It is partly their fault that everyone had to keep their mouths shut. The witness's face is filled with fear and worry as he questions the leader. How does he think they had managed to silence so many people in such a short time? They initially offered $80,000 in settlement. To the vehicle where Sion and Sejong are, Sion reveals everything to Sejong. She turns to Sejong, challenging him to guess how her parents reacted to it. Before speaking, Sejong assumes Sion's parents ended up like his, but to his surprise, she reveals that they said they'd settle for $200,000, and after a compromise, they agreed to settle for $120,000 on the condition that her medical fees would be covered. Sejong stares at her in shock, his mind unsteady from what he just heard. Sion lets out a bitter laugh. It was crazy, wasn't it? Sejong isn't even family, yet he is so shocked. How could he possibly think she had felt? She reveals that wasn't the only crazy thing her parents did. The worst part is, with the money from the settlement, they went to the police, the paramedics, and even the school teachers. They took the initiative to seek out every single person involved with her and the incident, and convinced them to keep quiet about everything. Sejong's anger rises, and he slams his fist in frustration. The impact is so intense that the van swivels on the road, but Sion knows there is no point in getting angry now. She then points out how she was bedridden for over a year. While Sejong was in a coma, His parents fought their lonely battle against the perpetrators. He found out about their tragic deaths much later, but she was wide awake and forced to watch and listen to everything her parents were doing. She wanted to die when she found out that her hospital room and everything that occurred inside it were being funded by them. To change the subject, Se-young questions about her parents' whereabouts, but is stunned to know they passed away in a car accident. Pressing forward, Sion and Se-young disembark from the van and head towards the river. Meanwhile, the other doctors ride away on a speedboat while Sion invites Se-young into an empty seat. Before he gets on, he asks about her brother, so she informs him that her brother has joined the army, not long after their parents died. He doesn't believe she is okay with leaving her brother, but she reveals that is what he thinks, as the military police suddenly showed up to their house and took him away. He was still a student. The rest can easily piece it together. She then reminds him of the people who were with her earlier, but Se-young suggests she stop as he doesn't want to know more. This surprises her, as those are the ones who helped her get back on her feet and the ones who have been helping her take revenge on those people. Se-young interrupts, assuring her of taking the revenge for both of them, but she doesn't want him to insist on bearing the burden alone. Se-young guarantees her it is not a burden. Sure, he will be the one swinging the sword, but he will be taking revenge for both her and his parents. He even gives her an option to take revenge together. That being said, Sion smiles, thanking him for his sacrifice. This makes him smile, but his expression darkens when she rejects Se-young's offer. She tells him to go ahead and kill them. After all, they deserve to pay for what they have done to them. But as for the people who turned a blind eye and everyone else who contributed to the crime, she is going to kill them all, and that is her idea of revenge. Hearing this, Se-young's eyes widen in shock as she isn't the same girl anymore, while she smiles with a crazed glint in her eyes. Sion admits that last night she killed the 2 officers who were dispatched on the day of the incident. She decapitated them, just like Se-young, so they probably are thinking he is the culprit. She apologizes to him for that. In actuality, she wasn't really sorry. It was her aim to do this in the first place. At first, she wanted to make it look like an accident, but then she saw what Se-young had done. Proper revenge means letting the whole world know why you have done what you've done, and someone has killed their victims. Se-young gets flashbacks of all the people he murdered. He couldn't say anything, so he clenches his fists, being speechless. At the police headquarters, the witness narrates how Sion's parents approached him. It was a few days before they died in the accident. To be precise, it was the day after the video of Se-young's parents had gone viral. They said that the whole country was abuzz with the news, and that it was their chance to demand more money from the perpetrators, with the incident gaining more spotlight. They wanted the witness to lend a hand. The team leader is in utter disbelief. How could parents sell out their own child? Were they even her real parents? But the witness declined the offer. The parents of the perpetrators are powerful people, so he was scared and uneasy about getting further involved, plus what Sion's parents were doing was just plain cruel. The leader is well aware. The witness didn't find it cruel or anything. He was just scared. However, the witness continues speaking, confronting Sion's parents who died in a car accident, but he knows it wasn't an accident. The team leader stutters in disbelief, but before he could go deep, the witness pulls out his phone from his pocket, quietly slides his phone to show him a text. A text he received from an unknown number, the day before the accident happened, threatening to wait as they are next. The witness, at that time, had a feeling that something is connected to Bayek's family, but he ignored that odd feeling. The leaders assumed if it were the bullies' parents, maybe they were trying to keep others from squealing. After all, their children were in hot water with the public, but it wouldn't make any sense at the same time. His mind races with tons of questions, but suddenly a detective rushes in, informing the leader, Sion Bayek, is alive. They have received intelligence that Se-young has gone to meet her, and both the police and the army are headed there now. That being said, he grits his teeth and slams his fist on the table. They are the investigative team in charge of this case. Why did the police head there? And why is he even receiving this news right now? Meanwhile, in the river, Sion urges Se-young to continue on his revenge as she doesn't want to stop him, while she continues on her chosen path as well. Se-young is about to offer his services to Sion, but Sion stops him and assures him that revenge is only a part of the endgame. If they leave the bad, they will only become worse. If they sit around and wait for the bad things to improve, eventually the good things will turn bad too. That is why they need to eliminate the bad once and for all in order to establish a new nation. Their conversation is interrupted when a boat approaches them. On top of the boat is an old man, Yang Yong-jong, with a scar on his left eye. The man seems to know Sion as she addresses her. He immediately understands she was in the middle of trying to persuade Se-young. Without hesitation, Sion stepped onto the boat and addressed him respectfully, calling him Dean. Then she turns to Se-young once more, asking him to join them. But the old man advises her to let him be, as they must not force him. Angrily, Se-young clenches fists. Who was this old man? What was his purpose? He demands to know, though the old man reveals they don't have a name, as they are the representatives of the weak who have lost their way. But Sejong ends up leaving them and doesn't get on the boat. Xion didn't want him to leave. She stared at him in hope that maybe he would turn back, but he didn't. As the boat speeds along the river, Xion is caressing a gun while contemplating her conversation with Sejong. A man who she barely recognizes, the old man's companion on the boat, suggests that she should have left with her friend while she had the chance. But Xion does not respond immediately. Instead, she narrows her eyes and studies him carefully. He doesn't seem to be one of them. The man walks away from her, warning her not to think of him like one of their mental hospital patients. She angrily points the gun at him, confirming if he just calls them crazy, not caring about his life. He declares there is nothing sane about a group that teaches kids to shoot people. Hearing that, she tries to explain how they are trying to build a new nation, but she is interrupted when the guy warns her to remove the gun before he kills her. She wanted to kill him at that time, but her intrusive thoughts doesn't take over, and fortunately their conversation is cut short as the old man steps between them and suggests they must find the president's daughter, Jang Soo-jung, before Sejong kills her. Xion doesn't understand the reason behind it. Therefore, the old man elaborates, for the future's sake, they have to stop Sejong before the world completely turns its back against him. Back in the city, parents of all the bullies are crying their hearts out for their children as they fail to save them. Among them, Lee Joyang, Soo-hyun's father, sits in his car, trying to suppress his tears. His assistant then reports to him that Jang Soo-jung did escape the base on a helicopter on the day of the incident, and she is planning to head to Incheon Airport tomorrow. This news infuriates Joyang. The last time he heard about Jang Seok-chal's daughter, Soo-jung. The fact that she escaped means they left his son to die. Joyang has nothing to do except cry for his son to be abandoned by his own friend who he trusted. His heart feels like it is being ripped apart, but there is nothing he can do. All he can do is grieve. Meanwhile, Sejong receives the information of Jang Soo-jung arriving at the Incheon airport. The report is given to him by one of the members of the Shinjin group on top of a building. Confirming the news, in an instant, he throws the man aside, his body landing among several others who are already unconscious. The next day, at the National Assembly, Jang Seung-chul is taking his presidential oath, promising to uphold their country's constitution. At the same time, in another building in the city, a ton of soldiers are guarding the entrance and are covering the whole area of Young Da-hoon's place. They know Sejong is coming. It is only a matter of when. Not far from the scene on a nearby rooftop, Sion and her group are watching the efficient, high-powered soldier. She stands there waiting for him, but when her companion asks her if he is even coming, she is not too sure judging from how he has been acting, but he will come. After all, Da-hoon's one of the 8 bullies. Her companion is worried, as they have a big-sized team today, which means they have to be careful when they retreat too, as staying too long would be dangerous for them. But Sion finds it simple. They can just eliminate any witnesses. Though her companion asks her if she is okay with this because she wanted to deal with the guy personally, her expression darkens as she explains he must not know what it is like to be on the receiving end of such violence. She says she hates those bullies, but she hates the army and the police more for protecting them. Those people didn't join the forces to protect the weak. All they are parasites that use orders as an excuse for their crimes. That is why killing the 8 bullies won't make much of a difference. So she is letting Sejong have them for the sake of a greater purpose. On the other hand, Sejong charges forward to the Incheon International Airport, the place where Jang Soo-jung is arriving soon. The whole airport shakes when Sejong lands on the ground with a loud bang. People immediately scream upon seeing him and start running away. Screams echo through the terminal. One unfortunate civilian accidentally drops his phone. While running away, it bounces off Sejong's chest. On the phone screen, the president, Jang Seung-chul, is still giving his presidential oath. Inside the airport, Jang Soo-jung recalls the conversation she had with her father. His words still ring in her ears. Her father advised her to move abroad if she wants to survive. It is the only way to protect everything she has. He was not happy about that, but they are all about to suffer the consequences of her actions. Not having any choices, she accepted to listen to his father and is currently sitting with Nam Ho-jung, a member of the Secret Service. Jang Soo-jung looks at her with her pleading eyes, eager to know if she is coming with her too. Nam Ho-jung assures her she will be protecting her until Soo-jung has been transferred to the security team on site. She reminds Soo-jung to follow her advice, or it will only get harder for her. She tells her not to log into blogs or any of the social media accounts, and don't use any messenger apps either. For her own safety, her schooling will be replaced with a private tutor. Avoid any contact with neighbors and don't make friends with any peers. Soo-jung turns to her in confusion as she thought all she had to do was go to the States. But Nam Ho-jung reveals she must not stay longer than 1 year in any given country as the chase will continue until Sejong has been captured. The higher the threat, the shorter she stays. Meanwhile, in the airport security office, Dean Yang Youngjong watches the surveillance footage, Se-young's approach in the airport CCTV. They have to stop Se-young, but the Dean knows he is not someone easily stopped. His attendant reminds him that they have a response manual for this kind of situation, but the Dean points out this manual is for normal opponents. It won't give a solution for their problem. They should always assume the worst when it comes to Se-young, or else they will be the one to die. Yang Youngjong then contacts a sergeant to know how long before Jang Soo-jung boards the plane. The reply comes swiftly. 20 minutes. That is all the time they have left. Listening to that, he orders them to hurry and initiate the backup plan. They must help the president's daughter. The sergeant assures him they can initiate the plan with no problem since they have been on standby. After talking to him, the attendant suggests the Dean head out, but first he needs to talk to Se-young. He doesn't know if it will work, but they need to stall for as much time as possible. The attendant is not in agreement with Yang Youngjong meeting him, but Jung-sun is not meeting him to provoke him or anything, just wanting to have a brief chat. On the other hand, Lee So-chul from the airport cybersecurity department approaches agent Ho Jung-nam, suggesting they come with him as Tak Se-young has broken into the airport. Se-young is heading inside the airport but is stopped when he spots Jung-sun in front of him. Yang Youngjong does not hesitate. He makes a request. He asks if he couldn't let Jang Soo-jung go just this once, for the future of the country that Sion envisions. In order to create the new nation, they need Jang Soo-jung alive so that they can use her in their talks with the government. She is the president's only weak spot. Se-young asks him if the Dean thinks he could stop him by himself. Without answering him, Yang Youngjong informs him that if Jang Soo-jung dies now, Sion will be very disappointed. She is awaiting Se-wong at Jung Da-hoon's home. Se-young makes it clear that Yang Youngjong's negotiation with the government has nothing to do with him, and warns him this is the last time he used Sion as a pretext for spouting lies. If it happens again, he can bring up Sion all he wants, but Se-young will still kill him. Fear flickers across the Dean's face, but Se-young is already moving forward to do what he has to do. No one can stop him. No one can use someone else's name as bait to melt his heart. Inside the airport security leads Agent Nam and Soo-jung through a different path in the airport. When Agent Nam worries about the route, they assure Nam Se-young has no idea about this route, as the route they are about to take is an unofficial one. Meanwhile, another contingent of soldiers is standing at a ready position in the airport. Their commander warns them to shoot Se-young on sight and keep up their guard. Suddenly, before they can react, their eyes widen in shock. Se-young is already behind the commander, his presence unnoticed until his voice slices through the air. The commander spins around, his hand trembling as he raises his gun. But it is too late. In a single motion, Se-young's sword flashes, cutting through the air before the commander can even pull the trigger. At the same moment, Yang Youngjong is also getting reports from his subordinates. Se-young is currently heading towards the runway looking for Jang Soo-jung. Yang Youngjong knows Se-young's senses are much more advanced than those of normal humans, so he advises his subordinate all personnel should avoid contact with Sergeant Major and Kang Hyun's squad. The subordinate assures him Jang Soo-jung will escape in one piece. As for Se-young, he stopped walking calmly in the airport, but instead opted to jump off the window onto the runway. From there, he spots Soo-jung running into an airplane on the other side of the field. Se-young screams at them furiously, catching their attention. Therefore, Soo-jung and Nam quickly climb up the plane, while Se-young tries to run across the runway. Deep down, he is aware he won't be able to reach her even if he jumps. The airplane is about to take off. Not having any other option, he pulls out his sword and prepares to throw it in. Sword arcs around the runway and follows the plane as if it is attracted to it. The sword then sliced the upper part of the plane. Inside, Agent Nam covers Soo-jung with her body like a shield so she won't get hurt, while the sword cuts through the cabin. The plane wobbles and obviously slowly crashes down to the ground, not causing any severe harm to Soo-jung. Security cars appear immediately, surrounding Se-young. They take this as an opportunity, as Se-young doesn't have his weapon with him right now. The soldiers point their guns at him and barrage him with the bullets and even grenade launchers. Quietly, Nam and Soo-jung get out of the plane. As explosions occur behind them, it catches their attention and forces them to look back. To their surprise, through the smoke and fire, a silhouette emerges. Se-young is now standing on the top of the plane in front of them, while regaining possession of his sword. Witnessing this, Soo-jung and the agent start running away, but Se-young leaps in the air and lands in front of them, blocking their way very easily. Se-young stands atop the wreckage, his figure barely touched by the destruction. He smiles, knowing he finally cornered the prey he wanted to hunt for so long. In fear, Soo-jung falls to her knees, her body trembling out of fear, well aware that her time is definitely up. Agent Nam is on the verge of crying, but she is shivering as well, but she can't really do much at this point. Se-young mutters her name under his breath, his lips curling into a monstrous grin. He approaches both of them and keeps muttering Soo-jung's name over and over again. SWAT vans quickly start emerging at their location, and heavily armed forces rush out of them, filling the runway, familiar with the fact that something very bad is about to happen. However, Sejong is already standing right before Sujung. She sobs uncontrollably, her body trembling and flinching as fear overtakes her body. Just then, a broken apology escapes her mouth. She acknowledges that what she did to both him and Sion is not something that can ever be forgiven. But she still pleads to Sejong to give her one last chance to make up for every blunder she made in the past. Her eyes fill with hope when Sejong suggests that she should leave if she wants to live. She is about to express her gratitude, but she notices that Sejong is actually talking to Agent Nam, and not her. Sejong further warns her he has no intention of killing anyone who is not a target as long as they don't get in his way. It is his rule, he only kills if he gets attacked by someone. Agent Nam freezes, not knowing what to do. She takes a moment, but obviously it was a matter of her life as well, so without having any other choice, she leaves Sujung behind. Collapsed on the ground, Sujung stretches out a trembling hand toward her Uni, who walks away with tears rolling down her face. Desperately, she screams for help, her voice miserable and broken, pleading for her Uni to turn back or for anyone to save her. But her cries are unanswered. She tries reminding everyone who she is. She is the daughter of the president. She screams at everyone and begs, "Why won't anyone step in?" She points at the police and the military and insists that they come forward, orders them to arrest Sejong, and tells them to arrest him already. Having had enough of her nonsense, Sejong calmly raises his giant sword, then powerfully brings it down on Sujung. With a single intensified strike, he cleaves her in half, blood spraying across his face. For a moment, time seems to slow. Flashes of his mother, father, and Sion flood his mind. His lips curl into a chilling smile with satisfaction. Only one remains now. In another country, Japan, at the Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office, a meeting is being held. The leader suggests to all his members that there was no room for hesitation, no space for half measures. To limit themselves to a single strategy was to invite failure, and failure was not an option. They must find a way to pressure and win over Tak Sejong, employing every means necessary to secure it. They need a contingency plan in case they fail to secure Sejong, a plan to obtain that power for themselves. Some suggested that before they could break Tak Sejong, they needed to understand him. Where had he acquired such strong power? How had he obtained it, and more importantly, how did it work? Without this knowledge, any strategy would be incomplete, any attack potentially meaningless. His strength is not just a weapon because there is definitely something more to it. Some grew impatient, denying the need for detailed strategies. Plans, details, and careful approaches were meaningless now. What mattered was securing Tak Sejong by any means necessary. The world is on the verge of transformation, and the one who takes this as an opportunity will shape its future. Both guns and the army can't get past that superhuman. If they were to produce 1,000 or even 10,000 of them, something very unreal would definitely get into this world, beyond anyone's imagination. In another environment, Paul is being informed by his assistant that China's Zhao Xinchao will personally be leading the forces. Receiving this information, Paul wonders, it's only a matter of time before Sejong starts attracting interest from all over the globe. Nobody would have ever guessed that Zhao Xinchao would be leading the forces, of all people. His attention is pulled towards his assistant when he informs Paul that they have knowledge of over 3,000 Chinese spies currently operating undercover in Korea, and that figure doesn't even include companies and organizations. Paul's mind wanders. Those people use their strength number even when it comes to spying. Though the assistant assures him they are starting to see movements in Japan as well. But Paul tells him to let them fight amongst themselves. This shocks the assistant. He hesitantly questions his boss if he is not going to take any measures against them, because if Japan or China get their hands on Sejong, it would be a literal war. He insists, "Paul, they will be willing to forgo diplomatic relations and resort to force if it means securing Sejong. So this is not something they all should simply be writing off." However, Paul is smirking because he somewhere has an idea that it won't happen. Once someone gets on Sejong's bad side, they are out. The assistant interrupts urgently. Tak Sejong could be won over, not just by force, but by money or power maybe. And if another country wins him over, it wouldn't just be a loss, it would be a catastrophe. Paul agrees that the other countries might make him a few offers, but he doesn't think that Sejong would accept. But if China offered him land and governing power, in that case, Sejong's aunt and her family, who were designated as protected persons, could transfer them to Fort Bragg. They will even employ the help of folks there. The assistant's eyes widen when he realizes Paul will have the 82nd Airborne Division protect a civilian family. Paul laughs manically. His expression turns into something dark, finding it a great idea. He wants to get on Sejong's good side, and he will do it using his aunt. Back in the city, Soyan's father, chairman of Xinjin, Li Joyang, is standing in the rain, still mourning the loss of his son, and promises to get revenge for him and to make Sejong's death more painful and terrible than his. And the people who stood by and watched his wrongful death will have no exception at all. They will all pay. After the funeral, the families of the victims held a press conference, with Lee Joyang acting as their representative. Their statement was filled with rage, and they wept, knowing all their children had been brutally murdered within days by the murderer Tak Sejong. They denounced the government for its incompetence and its haphazard response to the situation. Citizens were in great shock when they learned the true scale of the disaster. Chang-soo and the president's daughter hadn't been the only victims. Most of their friends have also been murdered, but that was only the beginning. Once headlines started reporting hundreds of innocent police and military personnel had been killed during Sejong's killing spree, there was public outcry. Families wept, their cries of grief piercing through the nation's collective shock. Outrage erupted like wildfire. Those who had glorified and defended Sejong all but vanished. He was considered no more than an unruly, law-breaking terrorist, an evil force that posed a threat to the nation and its people. Tak Sejong has officially become a public enemy. In his presidential office, President Seung-chul watches in horror as the screen plays the final moments of his daughter's life. Soo-jung, helpless before Sejong's blade. His lips quiver as he mutters her name. His entire body trembles with unbearable agony. His heart feels as if it has been torn from his chest. Clenching his fists, he forces himself to breathe through the pain. He begs Soo-jung to wait for him in heaven and swears no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, he will have his revenge. Suddenly he hears a knock and acts normal. It is Park Sang-gyun, director of the National Intelligence Service. He brought someone with him to advise them on the current situation as they are in the midst of a crisis. The person is none other than the dean, Yang Yong-jong. After being seated, Director Park explains to Seung-chul that the old man is the one who laid the foundation of the country until he retired from the Ministry of Security, but now he is returning from retirement to get it, so Seung-chul asks if there is a way to kill that guy. That being said, hesitantly, the old man tells them to firstly detain Young Do-hoon. He is the last surviving target. Meanwhile, a large hunk of rocks hits the building where Do-hoon has been hiding. Soldiers steady themselves to be prepared for any attack or danger, but when the smoke gets clear, they notice Sejong on the street. The soldiers are confused, unsure what to do. The commander announces to pay attention and not to retreat or return to base. All the soldiers panic. What are they even supposed to do with that order? Suddenly one of the guys takes the initiative to walk towards Sejong, claiming this is what the people get when things are being left with zero athletic training, and announces to Sejong that he will be his opponent. He proudly says that size and strength aren't everything. Technique is where it is really at. He reveals that he is a former boxing champion. He mocks Sejong's technique, calling them sloppy punches, which are going to be a piece of cake to dodge for him. The guy lifts his arm in a ready stance. Sejong looks at him quietly, but in an instant, the guy meets a powerful punch, and the guy ends up flung back into a building. Just then, the soldiers get the order to form a defense line, and should not engage with Sejong at any cost, but report his movements immediately. Sejong sighs, but his gaze darts upward, and he notices a group of helicopters overhead. Do-hoon has already been evacuated in one of the helicopters, though the helicopters split up and fly in different directions, thus confusing Sejong on which one Do-hoon is in. Sejong's anger rises, and he jumps to the side of the building, leaving the stunned soldier behind. He then lands in Do-hoon's room, but only a picture of him with other bullies is left. Sejong grits his teeth and clenches his fists, taking an oath that it doesn't matter where he goes or where he hides, he will find him and kill him no matter what happens. Nearby, on another side of the street, Seon and her group are still on the rooftop. Seon watches the video of Soo-jung's murder. Her grip tightened around the device, her expression unreadable. She wanted to kill herself. However, her commander gets a call, someone on the other side of the phone, ordering him to assemble a squad to keep watch over Sejong. The person wants the rest of him and his company to return to base. Confusion flickers across the commander's face. Sejong has only just arrived, and the battle is far from over. Why retreat now? Before he can question it further, a call comes through. The voice on the other side explains, foreign spies operating in Seoul have set their sights on Seon. Worse, China's involvement is becoming impossible to ignore. They're everywhere, watching, waiting. The situation has totally shifted. Obeying the person's command, the commander agrees to have some company members accompany Seon back to base. The person reminds the commander that he must understand that Seon is very important to them. She is to be reborn as a symbol of their movements. Seon will be the one to spearhead the fall of the current puppet government. So until they return to the base, their top priority should be to keep Seon safe no matter what. Once they are there, he will have to report her every move, and she will not be allowed to leave the premises without permission. Without having any choice, the commander assures him of escorting her personally. Seon already knows what's coming before the words even leave the commander's mouth. A flicker of irritation is visible on her face. Before she can respond, the commander speaks again. He tells her not to be angry with him. She clenches her fists, biting back the frustration. On the other hand, the old man, Yang Yongjong, President Sung Chul, and Director Park head deep into the forest in a helicopter. A military unit is based up in the area. It doesn't connect the dots for Sung Chul. What can the military possibly do for them at this point? Though Yang Yongjong points at the tunnel, revealing they will be heading below the base. As they ride deep into the tunnel, Sung Chul tries asking where they are headed and what this tunnel is doing under the base. But Director Park assures him of explaining the details once they are there, as they will be arriving at their destination shortly. Inside the tunnel, Sung Chul's eyes widened in shock to see another door. This one is much heavier and larger than the one outside. Many questions race through his mind. Since when did they have facilities like this? What is going to be inside that door? Is this some kind of hiding spot? As soon as the door opens, he is in utter disbelief. A much larger space appears before them. Getting out of the car, Sung Chul studies the place in disbelief, wondering where they are. So Yang Yongjong explains that this is the place where they will capture Seong Tak. To their surprise, Sung Chul gets irritated with the old man's words. What would they even be going to accomplish here? Sung Chul's body trembles with anger. His face turns crimson red as he spits out his words. In his current state, Seong could annihilate this entire facility without breaking a sweat. No amount of bullets, no squad of soldiers, would be enough to stop him. The only way to even stand a chance would be to drop a missile right into the middle of the city. But even then, Sung Chul knows the truth. Seong is beyond human limits. Something like this facility would never ever be enough, nor would it work. The old man stays calm and steady, the literal opposite of Sung Chul, revealing he knows a way to deprive Seong Tak of his power. Though Sung Chul is not ready to hear anything, when the old man confronts him that the method is tried and tested, then Sung Chul becomes speechless. The old man speaks up. Strength, speed, heightened senses, a body that transcends the limits of man. There once existed a man who liked Seong. It happened 30 years ago. For Sung Chul, it was like the ground slipped from his feet. He is not ready to believe it. How could nobody have known about him? The old man elaborates. Back then, the media was more cooperative. Information wasn't as readily accessible to laymen. But still, Sung Chul doesn't believe that the entire country could have been in the dark about such a figure. So the old man explains that they used a slight subterfuge. The people remember him under a different form. He even reveals that Sung Chul probably knows the man himself. He wonders who it can be. So the old man turns to him. His expressions are unreadable but darkened, and he reveals his code name was Maruchi. Sung Chul stands frozen, his breath caught in his throat, eyes wide with disbelief. His mind refuses to accept what he's witnessing. Maruchi was once the greatest agent at the Agency for National Security Planning. That means he was working for the states. Out of curiosity and shock, he demands to know about his whereabouts. But the news leaves him trembling that Maruchi is dead. He is no more. A man in shock realizes Maruchi is gone. Moreover, he wonders how someone working for the ANSP ends up eliminated instead of protected. If Maruchi is still alive, he could have been a valuable asset. However, the truth surfaces that North Korea is behind the operation, aiming to capture him alive. In the past, Maruchi single-handedly wiped out 3 of their armies, and now they finally strike back. The realization sets in that Tak possesses the same potential, if not greater, than Maruchi once did. Back then, Maruchi was even younger than Tak is now. The question arises about whether Maruchi was captured and eliminated in the same place. It turns out he was captured but not successfully killed. The reason for their failure lies in their objective because they wanted him alive. If their mission had been to eliminate him, escape would have been impossible. Eventually, he meets his end while carrying out his duty, falling in battle against a group of saboteurs. Maruchi's downfall seems almost too simple for someone of his caliber. He had infiltrated an enemy submarine deep in the East Sea, aiming to destroy the vessel along with everyone on board. However, his plan does not go as intended. In the important moment of escape, he fails to make it out in time, and the submarine sinks, dragging him down into the ocean's depths. The people evacuated the place in hurry and urgency. Among them, Tak urgently searches for Jung Da-hoon, determined to find him no matter what. Afterwards, Nungkwang Middle School and High School, where memories and unfinished business still linger. Se-young looks for help, but the person he turns to doesn't take him seriously. He dismissed his situation, saying bullying is just a part of growing up and that they have more important things to handle. Meanwhile, the bullying continues, and Se-young gets hit and insulted while others watch but stay silent. Some are scared of becoming the next target, and remind each other not to interfere. One wonders why no one helps, but stepping in feels too risky. The family controlling the school has too much power. Despite everything, Se-young holds on to hope, believing that things might get better someday. Sejong's parents are heartbroken as they look at their child. Their sorrow is heavy. Tak, with determination in his eyes, promises to take revenge for them. A deep rumble grows louder. Suddenly, a loud crash breaks, as if the world itself is reacting to their pain and anger. Hyunsuk arrives, and someone greets him, saying they waited but are thankful he came. The news is heartbreaking. All the children have been killed, including his daughter. Now only his son is left, and they must do everything to keep him safe. Moreover, this place is no longer safe because Tak has found their location. The commander believes moving together as a family made them easier to track. Hyunsuk feels the weight of the situation, realizing the danger is getting closer. Since Tak's final target is his son, a plan is suggested that there is a special hiding place ready for him, and sending him there might be the only way to protect him. Mr. Jang reassures Hyunsuk that he came personally to deliver the message, knowing he might worry otherwise. Their presence is meant to bring some relief in this difficult time. Hyunsuk, feeling fear, thanked them sincerely. Moreover, he also hesitates before asking about his parents, to which Mr. Jang quickly reassures him, promising that everything will be fine. A sudden screech breaks through. Mr. Jang leads the way, his presence firm. Jung Da-hoon hesitates, unsure of his surroundings, and wonders where they are. Afterwards, Mr. Jang assures him that this place is safe, hidden from Tak's reach. He emphasizes the need to stay put for a while, promising that Tak will be captured and eliminated. Meanwhile, Tak remains unwavering. Mr. Jang plans all of this to trap Jang Da-hoon because he wanted to save the lives of innocent soldiers and police, and tells the current location of him to Tak, to which he makes it clear that he is not the one who started this. Those who attacked him first and protected the real monsters are the ones responsible for the chaos. A question arises about whether it was necessary to meet the man in person. The response is firm, because sometimes, taking matters into one's own hands is the only way to ensure success. If there had been no direct approach, Hyunsuk would have never agreed to separate from his son. Moreover, he acknowledges the decision as the right one. Afterwards, Da-hoon, at first his reaction is calm, but suddenly his frustration grows, and he desperately demands to be released, insisting that he wants to be with his father instead. His cries echo, but his pleas go unanswered. Da-hoon's cries demanding to be let out. His voice grows louder, but no response comes. Afterwards, he realizes no one intends to listen. Meanwhile, a discussion unfolds elsewhere, questioning whether Tak will truly fall for the setup. Considering everything he has done, they know better than to underestimate him just because he is young. The plan is in Da-hoon's presence, and Tak won't be able to ignore it. However, Tak will recognize a trap when he sees one and won't simply walk into it. A different approach is needed. Instead of using Da-hoon as bait, they decide to present him as the real target. This way, Sejong won't even realize he has been tricked until it's too late. Da-hoon has to stay there until everything is over because he has no way to escape. Outside, the situation becomes more serious as Tak enters the compound. Moreover, the order is clear that once Tak steps inside, the plan must begin. Everyone gets ready, knowing this moment is important. Inside, Da-hoon is angry and desperate. He bangs on the door with all his strength, yelling to be let out. He shouts loudly, but no one responds. No matter how much he screams, the door stays shut. Afterwards, Tak moves forward with steady steps, calling out Da-hoon's name. As he reaches for the door, his grip tightens and he forces it open. The sound of Da-hoon's terrified scream fills the air. The room shakes, metal screeches against the floor, and Da-hoon freezes in fear. Tak stands there and reminds him that there is no more running, no more hiding. The game of hide-and-seek is over. The ground shakes as loud explosions go off, blocking the entrance. Thick smoke fills the air, making it impossible to escape. Tak stands still, staring straight at Da-hoon. Afterwards, he calls his name, making it clear that there is no way out. Moreover, he pushes Da-hoon down hard, and the impact is strong, leaving him struggling to breathe. Da-hoon's body shakes as he breathes, his heart pounding with fear. Tak watches him closely, waiting for him to get up. The moment has finally come, and Da-hoon crashes to the ground. Afterwards, Tak's vision becomes blurry, and thick smoke makes it hard to breathe. His chest feels tight and he coughs, trying to clear his lungs. Da-hoon laughs loudly while watching, enjoying the scene like it's nothing more than a game. Moreover, the heavy smoke raises questions. Maybe it's tear gas or even poison, something meant to weaken Tak. But none of it matters. Nothing like that would be enough to stop him. Tak has grown far stronger, not just physically but also in terms of immunity, making him resistant to most substances. Someone who knows him well wonders about the purpose of the smoke spreading through the air. If it isn't poison gas, then what could it be? The answer is unexpected because it isn't a deadly toxin but a powerful drug. 500 kilograms of methamphetamine are being released into the atmosphere. This amount is so large that it could destabilize an entire nation, causing unimaginable consequences. A realization hits him that fighting someone as powerful as Tak may seem impossible. His strength surpasses that of an ordinary human many times over, making him an unstoppable force. However, when viewed from a different perspective, the situation takes on a new perspective. What appears to be an advantage could just as easily turn into a weakness. His heightened senses, which make him so powerful, could also be his downfall if used against him. Everything feels heavy, and moving becomes harder. A final goodbye is spoken before everything turns blurry. The fight is over, and every enemy is gone. But something doesn't feel right. Suddenly, the body starts to shake, struggling to stay steady. A strange feeling brings confusion, and the air seems different. Afterwards, realization comes too late. This isn't normal smoke. It's a trap, and time is running out. Tak falls to the ground while he shouts Jang Sung-chul's name. Jang Sung-chul, Director Park, and Yang Yong-jong wear expressions of pure shock as they witness the horrifying beast before them. Their faces say it all while Tang Se-young's desperate scream pierces the chaos, calling out Jang Sung-chul's name. Trapped down there, Sung-chul calls Se-young a straight-up freaky jerk who just won't quit. Without further ado, Yong initiates the operation while his men drop nuking devices like rain for the so-called damsel in distress. One after another, these things that pretty much look like mini-nukes fall over Sung-chul, catching him completely off guard. In the blink of an eye, they explode right in his face, setting off a chain reaction. The blasts are ear-piercing and blinding, and honestly, sometimes having superhuman vision and hearing feels like pure bad luck. This freak, Young, casually throws in an explanation, mentioning it's all the 500 kilograms of hallucinogens they just released. The newly released technology is designed to overload Tak's senses, causing them to malfunction. Collapsing to his knees, the sudden drop numbed Tak's senses, probably sending his head into a full meltdown. Seong-chul urges Young to finish him off, saying it's the perfect chance. He asks why the old man is just standing there, but Young stays silent, completely stunned. He mutters what should be clear to everyone that Tak's dulled senses don't make him susceptible to blades or bullets. Just then, Young explains that they had to stick to the plan if they wanted Se-young gone. Director Park breaks the silence, mentioning that all the world's superpowers are itching to get their hands on this mutant Se-young. Not to mention, he himself is dying to get some of that freakish blood if possible. Seong-chul screams at Park for being an idiot, but Young cuts through their conversation. He finds it relatable to North Korea's failure to capture Maruchi, saying they've learned a lot from it if Park actually pays attention. Something like this only works once. Once it's over, Se-young's senses will adapt, and he won't fall for it again. They're left with no choice but to either pull an escape or go through with the plan. Young makes the call himself, stepping into the final stage. Giving the signal, preparations are underway to fill Se-young's freshly made prison with cement, which is bound to work way better than bullets. Once encased in cement, his movement will be severely restricted. Frozen solid, he'll be unable to exert any force. When asked, Young shares his theory, believing Se-young's body will develop a first-class immune system against the attack. And right now, it's happening exactly as expected. That sends a chill down Seong-chul's spine. Young plans to bury him under the rubble before he regains his senses and goes berserk. Meanwhile, Se-young has no clue what's happening as his subconscious pulls him in, and he hears a familiar voice telling him to go back. One look behind, Se-young freaks out as he sees the guy from his memories standing among the freakish-looking monsters. The man declares it's too early for Se-young to face Arab. He advises that hatred can make anything possible, and death shouldn't weaken him. Only relentless action will bring the blessing of the sword, and Se-young feels the words to his core. With that, the Se-young leaves while the guy waits for their next encounter. A couple of army rats try wielding Se-young's sword, but that's just wishful thinking. Suddenly the sword shakes, catching them off guard. Snapping out of the ground, it's ready to serve its master. Deep beneath the cement, Se-young breaks through his consciousness and lets out a scream that sends crazy chills down the spines of the old bags outside. Deep beneath the rubble, Se-young is practically screaming at the top of his lungs, hating every second of this mess. The old fools are exhausted to their bones, realizing nothing can suppress this mutant's murderous rage. His scream echoes far and wide, reaching his sword, which suddenly snaps out of the ground and disappears. That alone is enough to leave the army rats completely stunned. Seong-chul refuses to accept these hopeless odds. He demands an answer from Young, who explains that the kid pushed past his limits and broke through his overloaded senses. Even so, Young is confident there's no way he can escape. But suddenly, the ground starts shaking like a full-blown earthquake, throwing everyone off balance. Out of nowhere, Se-young's sword makes a dramatic entrance, ticking off Seong-chul. Witnessing this terrifying power firsthand, Young doesn't waste a second before telling Seong-chul to run for his life. Shifting its trajectory, the battling sword repeatedly stabs the rubble, creating a web of cracks to free its master. Young yells at Seong-chul to get in the car and escape, or he's done for. Wasting no time, they jump into their jeep while Young makes the call to blow up the entire place. His lackeys, still trapped inside, face Seyoung's rampage and end up crushed under the collapsing rubble. Totally losing it, Young calls the colonel, shouting that the operation is a complete failure and Seyoung is about to break free. But the colonel already has Plan B set in motion. With no time to spare, Young and Seongchul gun it, using the army as a distraction to make their getaway. In a flash, Director Park tells the driver to head straight for the helipad. Just then, the entire factory erupts in flames, catching them off guard. With their eyes locked on the final destination, they push the driver to speed up. But the real shocker is Seyoung's sword tearing through the tunnel, zigzagging in every possible direction before slamming right into the driver's seat, sending the car spinning out of control. Seongchul tumbles out like a trash can, shaking like a leaf as he stares up at Seyoung. Even Young is losing his mind, stunned that Seyoung made it here so fast. Overcome with emotion, he orders Seyoung to bring back his daughter. But with his sword raised high, Seyoung coldly asks, what about his parents? That one question cuts deeper than his blade, which then pierces Young from above, sealing his fate. Seizing the moment, Director Park takes his shot, but it is all in vain as Seyoung's sword slices his head clean off. 2 down, one more old bag to deal with.